What is up, Rotogrinders? 5 o'clock on the East Coast. You know that means it's time for Grinders Live. 2+ hours taking y'all straight up to lock. We got DerekCarty, CEO of the Bat, of Blitzed, all that good stuff. He'll be coming around 6:30 or so with Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth, who is going to be, he's always useful, but he's going to be especially useful today because there is some weather lurking in Coors Field. He currently has that as orange. I'll go ahead and drop it in the chat for the people to read. It will get updated usually around 5:30 or so. So keep an eye on that. But hey, what's up, chat? Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Turn on those notifications. Also, TJ Zwarych will be joining the Crunch Time crew as well. Joining me, 2-time millionaire winner, head Chopper, your boy Jazz is in Coors. We got to keep an eye on that. And also, Chop, speaking of the chat, first comment I see in the chat, you got to be nice to me, Chop, because all my teams, they lost this weekend, or at least the Heat did.
That's a tough break for you, Dean. I hate it when that happens, when your teams lose and, can't do nothing about it. But I don't know, Dean. That's a tough ask from the chat to be nice to you. I mean,
is it a tough ask? Is that really that difficult to just?
Sometimes you really, you bring it on yourself, Dean. Sometimes you're pushing my buttons the wrong way.
Hey, we've had Kirk D's push your buttons on air as well too. You guys combated before, so. Maybe I'll have to slide into the DMs and ask Kirk D is like, what really makes Chop tick? I can rebut.
Dean, pump your brakes. We got a show on Friday with me, you, and Kirk. We'll address this, but let me just say this: I'm gonna give the people a 72-hour teaser here. Some major developments.
What?
In regards to Kirk D's, he'll be on the show Friday. You got 72 hours to mull on it, but some major developments with Kirk D's. That's all I'm saying for now.
What is it? Oh, is he with child now?
I'm not saying anything else, Dean. My lips are sealed. 72 hours. You tune back in on Friday.
Also joining us, Keith Eister. Keith, I was checking out your article today on Scores and Odds. I'll go ahead and show the people Scores and Odds are a premium product, but for whatever reason, Keith, they give your article away for free. And I'll go ahead and I'll drop it in chat and we'll mention a couple, but we don't want to, give it all away. We want the clicks, of course. Keith, what do you think? You want to speculate for funsies? What is the major announcement that Chop is teasing with Kirk D's? What do you have?
He's keeping it under wraps, but I think you kind of nailed it. I mean, just from doing some shows with Kirk D's over the past couple of months, I know he's expecting. So I think you're onto something there.
Well, why? Let me pump the brakes on this speculation real quick. I didn't say major news. I said major development. So there's a big difference there. And I do want to clarify because that is a little personal for him. It has nothing to do with child. So I just want to clarify that. So
did he finally finish his weather model to combat Kevin Roth? He's been working on that for like 7 years.
Lips are sealed, Dean. Friday, 72 hours. Me, you, and Kirky on a show. We'll talk about it then.
Oh, now the whole time, and Kirk D's, his ears are ringing. He's in chat, so maybe he can help speculate and give some clarity and tease the people. But I don't know. I'm not in your secret Discord chat, so I don't know what you guys are talking about. I imagine it's been discussed, whatever this major news is. But you know what? I was going to call in on Friday, but now I'm going to show up. I'm curious.
Yeah. I would hope you show up, Dean. You're on schedule, man. I don't want to have to pull your weight too on Friday.
By the way, speaking of Discord, here's a good little segue to knock this out. The premium Discord, we give away something for free every single day. It seems like one of our premium products. And of course, we have the Discord channels for free. There are free premium channels. No, there are free Discord channels, and there are some premium Discord channels. Today, all the Discord channels are free. You can go ahead and jump in there, rotogrinders.com/Discord. And just, not just you don't have to be a premium member at RG. Anybody can go in there and jump in the premium channels, check it out, see what's going on. I don't think, Chop, no, they still can't get into your Discord. You and Kirk D's, that's just the two of y'all. It's just like locked off, right? It's just, I can't get in there. Nobody can get in there.
Well, we've been pushing for RG to give us our own Discord channel here in the RG chat. We're getting crickets in the Slack, so nobody wants to push the update. But as of now, no, it's just me and Kirk.
What would the name of the channel be? Give me the pitch. Maybe I can greenlight it for you.
I don't need you to greenlight anything from the top.
I know a guy, kind of, sort of. I know some people.
No,
you have more pull than me, probably, but
I think I would hope so by now. I do not hope so. Man.
Maybe I can put it over the top, though. You need one more person to back in. Say, I think Chop's got something here.
You do know who's in charge of the Rotogrinders? Everything now. You know who the big dog is now in charge of Rotogrinders, right?
I think so.
Who do you think it is?
I think it's Dan Bach.
Bingo. You know, me and Dan Bach go way back like a broken rocking chair. We're tight, man.
This says a lot about how bad your Discord channel proposal is. If he's not greenlighting it,
I haven't busted out the big gun yet. If I really want something greenlighted, I just text Dan Bach. But I'm trying to get it done, with by other means. But if I have to text Dan Bach, it's over with for you guys. I'll have heads rolling, man.
Are you going to red tag my locker? Just on one phone call?
You might get the loot, Dean. But then you probably won't, because then I'm looking at the list.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who's going to take these places? Britt? Oh, I'm not doing shows with Britt. Like I'm looking at the names on the list. Like, no, thank you. No, thank you. So you might be safe, Dean.
Yeah. What is it? The keep your enemies close, or I don't know. What's the phrase? The devil, How about that? Is that also appropriate there? Yeah, I don't know. I'm slightly better than the alternative. Is a rousing endorsement. I appreciate that, Chop. Keith, no doubleheader today as far as Fanduel. I didn't discuss with you guys, but I kind of sort of know. Keith, you tend to. Well, you tell me if I'm wrong. You're probably going to focus on DK, and Chop's probably going to focus on Fanduel. Does that work out for you, Keith?
That does work out for me. I'm playing primarily on DraftKings today. Yep. And
Chop, can you confirm? Are you playing primarily on Fanduel?
Playing everything on FanDuel, nothing on DraftKings tonight.
That would be primarily.
Well, it would be solely.
Okay.
Solely FanDuel.
Fair enough. FanDuel, by the way, does not have the back half of the Minnesota doubleheader for what it's worth. So 12 games on FanDuel. DK did include the Minnesota game that they play against. Who's Minnesota playing against? I'm losing the team for some reason.
Detroit, right?
There you go. That sounds about right. Yeah. So Detroit, Minnesota on the back half of that doubleheader is on DK. It is not on FanDuel. FanDuel threw it out. Give me the screenshot, Keith, as far as this slate. And obviously we're kind of sort of somewhat at the mercy, of course, as far as it's orange. I dropped the link in chat if y'all missed it. Kevin Roth. He gave it an orange tag. Orange is a scary color, man. Yellow, whatever. Okay, we'll figure it out. Roth will be on in an hour and 20 minutes or so, give you guys a better update. He'll be updating his article as well. But right now, we're very cautious. I'm very cautious. And, of course, we have Wrigley Wind as well today. I don't think it's to the severity it was yesterday, but it is still lurking. It's blowing out. Milwaukee and Chicago are playing baseball. And Wrigley with a 9.5 total, which is a pretty big number, especially with, Lauer, pretty solid pitcher, not necessarily a great offense on the Chicago side. So give me the screenshot, Keith, as far as this slate.
Yeah, obviously waiting on that Coors news. That's the big one. Going to affect the bats a little bit, but I don't think it has a huge impact on what my plans are for the slate. It's a huge slate here. There are plenty of options on the pitching side. There are plenty of options on the hitting side. So for me, the Coors news isn't that big of a deal. I kind of hope that we get the green light from Roth that it's good to go, because I plan on being underweight on Coors. Over on the pitching side, loaded with aces. You've got Gausman, Giolito, Lauer, like you mentioned, Javier, who's been pitching really well. Frankie Montas has had a good season. Julio Urias has a good matchup. There's a cheap guy I really like as well. We'll get to him. So plenty of pitching options. And then on the bat side, there's plenty of good offenses with good matchups as well. You've got the Dodgers against a below average righty. You've got the Mets against the corpse of Patrick Corbin. Atlanta is facing a low strikeout righty. Some wind at Wrigley, like you mentioned. Boston against Luis Castillo, who's been a little bit down. So, I mean, I think there are all kinds of places to go on this slate. So for me, I'm kind of hoping that Coors is good to go, and I can fade that one a little bit. I like some of these other offenses in some of the spots I just mentioned.
What's your thoughts, Chop? I mean, you're not going to ignore your boy Jazz in Coors if that game's greenlit. You know, Aramon Marquez, one of the better pitchers for Colorado. The Marlins are throwing out a legit prospect, one of the top, 40, 50 prospects in all of baseball, depending on where you look. So it's not a nobody if you see the name, like, I don't recognize who this guy is. You know, he is, I believe, number 2 in the Marlins system. That's Edward Cabrera. I think Max Meyer is one of their other top prospects. I think they have a shortstop as well, too. That might be ahead of him. But, yeah, a legit arm on the Marlins side. Tough landing spot for his MLB debut. Pretty sure this is his debut. Yeah, so what are your thoughts here, Chop? The screenshot, what do you have for me?
I think the overview here is that, yeah, like he said, lots of really solid pitching. And that's countered by the other half of really, really good hitting. And I think it speaks volumes, actually, that you have a Coors Field game with a pretty fresh meat pitcher. We can talk about him later, but it's a pretty fresh meat pitcher in Coors Field. And that's not even the first or second highest team total on the board here for teams. It's actually, depending on where you look, the Mets and the Dodgers. So there's really good hitting out there, and there's really solid pitching up top. So it is just a typical 12-game slate, man. Just lots to mull over here.
Taking a look at our rankings, by the way, myself, Grant, Dave Potts, Cheese is good, and Kirk Dees, who's lurking there in chat. Our consensus rankings as far as stacks, I don't think it's terribly surprising, Keith. Dodgers number 1, Mets number 2, Atlanta, Milwaukee, some Colorado love, a little bit of Arizona love, a little bit of Cubs love, a little bit of Miami love. But it's pretty strong as far as the first 3 or 4, and then you're just sort of filling it out with a 15. Do you mostly agree with that? Anything you would disagree with that? Anything you would adjust? You did not do this your rankings today, but any disagreement as far as Dodgers, Mets, Atlanta, Milwaukee? Is that basically the order you'd have them as well?
Yeah, I have Milwaukee just a little bit lower. I'm not buying into Milwaukee. We saw them struggle in the second half of the doubleheader yesterday. So just 3 games in two days is tough. So I would have maybe someone else in that 4 spot. I definitely agree with the top 3. But I have quite a bit of interest in Minnesota and Arizona as well against Charlie Morton, who struggled a lot this year. Milwaukee is right there in that top 5. But I would be a little bit, I wouldn't necessarily say they're in the top tier with the other 3.
Yeah, again, Minnesota, DK only, obviously, back half of their doubleheader. And I am scrolling to find the Minnesota lineup because I just saw it and then I lost it. Buxton, Arise, Garlic, Polanco, Larnick, Miranda, Gordon, Jeffers, and Polanco. I believe they put Lewis on the IL, if I'm not mistaken. And Chop, well, I was going to say, do you agree with the consensus rankings? You have a thought as far as those teams that kind of sort of basically where you're at as well? Dodgers, Mets, Atlanta, Milwaukee. Any big disagreements?
I'm kind of with Ice on this one. Ice Daddy, we like to call him off camera Ice Daddy. But the Mets, Dodgers.
Can you confirm that?
I will not confirm nor deny.
Is there another secret Discord I'm not aware of that I wasn't invited to?
There's Atlanta's in the mix because of who they're facing and everything, but they haven't been great this year at all. But they're in the mix because of this matchup. But I'm with Keith on his Milwaukee thoughts too. I'm just about them, and then the top 3 though, the Mets, Dodgers look interesting, and then we'll talk about when we get into it some sneaky stuff down the board there.
Yeah, do you want to tease one of the sneaky teams, or want to hold on to it? We'll discuss it later.
I always feel kind of weird about touting my Astros because I am such a fan, and I don't know where the line is. I can't see the line of is it just homerism, or is it or is this true thing? But the Astros way down there on the team total tonight. Nobody will be taking them, and I think there's merit. I don't think we have a lineup yet, but I want to see the lineup, and if the lineup is what I'm hoping for, I think there's merit to something like that as a stack. The Astros against Montas.
So Tucker's dealing with a foot. We're not sure if he's going to play or not. And didn't Altuve get possibly concussed?
He got popped in the face yesterday, and that's what they're waiting. Dusty Baker says he has 2 different lineups ready to go, depending on the Altuve news. So I need the full line. I need the lineup I want in there, which features Altuve and hopefully Tucker, Jordan, and all the other guys, Brantley, Gurriel. If I get a watered down lineup, then I'm out on the Astros. But we'll see what the lineup comes out. But I think there's merit to them if it's the good lineup.
I mean, it's a tough ballpark and it's a tough pitcher, so nobody's going to play him. You know this.
And but the ballpark thing, I'm not worried about ballpark. They hit 3 shots there yesterday. Anybody, you get a hold of a pitch, you can hit out of any stadium. It's easier to go out of Coors, I get it, but there's also the quality of a lineup matters too, as opposed the Coors guys tonight are the Coors. Colorado's lineup is terrible these days, so. I don't know how much, what do you weigh the quality of a lineup versus where they play at home? I don't know.
And did you call Cabrera fresh meat? Is that what you're calling him? He's a legit arm. I understand he hasn't done it professionally.
We could talk about him a little bit. He's a very young and very, very novice to the MLB levels. He does have really great stuff. I will admit that. And just because he's high ranking doesn't mean he's going to be good tonight, though. The Coors Field thing is iffy, but here's the thing about Cabrera. I don't think he's going to work past 4 or 5 innings. He wasn't even barely going past 5 innings in the minor leagues. So maybe 4 or 5 innings. Now he's got the capability of striking out 2 batters per 9 inning with his stuff. The problem is for him, even in the minor leagues, major control problems. So he was walking 3-4 guys per 5 outings or 5 innings an outing in the minor leagues. So we'll see how his stuff reacts in Coors Field, but he could get run out of this game real quick. Or he could go out 5 innings and 10 Ks.
Yeah, I think he's an interesting tournament guy. It's like an SP2 if they get the all clear from Roth. But it's dicey as is. It's even dicier for pitchers. It's even dicey for pitchers that, are young and if they have a delay of any kind, almost definitely why would you bring them back out? Doesn't seem necessary. Chad, are you holding on? Chop, are you holding on to some secret BBP? Because I just pulled it up and the chat's talking about BBP. And, Michael Brantley, who's got 2 home runs against nobody, has 2 home runs against Montas in his career. And even Altuve's got 2 homers against Montas. Is that where you're, is that kind of the crux of your Houston argument?
It factored into my secret Houston stack. Yes, it factored in.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any other BBP for Houston. I'm just kind of scrolling through. Yeah, there you go. They've done well against Montas. They faced them enough, I imagine. All right, if that's your thing, BBP style. Let's talk about the pitchers. By the way, if you missed it, Tommy Pham was scratched before we went on air. Looks like Nick Senzel is taking his spot for what you care. Hey, Chop, you have to have a take. I mean, the Jock Peterson, Tommy Pham story. This seems like something's right up your alley. You probably not like this, something like this. You always talk about your season-long teams on your podcast and stuff. You probably had a similar situation, no?
I've never physically. Let me think about it. I don't live by the guys anymore. That's in my season-long hometown league, but we've been at it for man, dude, Dean, this is crazy. But we've been at it for 22 years now, 23 years on this home league. It's crazy. But back in the day when we all started this back when we lived in a very close vicinity to each other in the same apartments, in fact. So there might have been some scuffles back in the day. In fact, back in the day, the first guy who started it the first 2 years and managed it, he got booted after the 3rd year because he stole all our damn money. He couldn't even pay off the winners 1 year.
What?
So there might have been there's some scuffles.
Were you all
back
friends
then.
too? Was it good friends?
Yeah, we were friends. Yeah,
so $1,000, he loses all his friends. That's worth it to him, or whatever it is.
Hey, Dean, we're young, and 1,000 means a lot. It meant, plus the inflation. You got to think back then 1,000 meant a lot more. But when you're young and you don't have anything, sure, I guess I don't think he meant to steal the money and leave and take off or anything. I think that, he's got this money sitting there for like 6 months waiting on the end of the season, and things are, he wants to buy things and thinking he can replace it down the road. And then all of a sudden it comes time to pay. Anyway, after that, he got booted. So, but there's been some scuffles throughout the years, but not like that. Tommy Pham took it to another level, man.
Our league, we would just argue on the message boards, and like the things I cared about when I was 20, I can't imagine carrying them up today. How about Keith? Do you have any stories of this sort? Are you still in season-long stuff with like your high school friends and stuff like that?
Yeah, I've got one that I'm in with some old school buddies, but yeah, no altercations or anything that I can recall.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about the pitchers tonight. We kind of teased them a couple times. Specific to so this is the kind of the difference in the sites, I think. And Chop, you can kind of speak to this as far as Christian Javier on Fanduel is distinctly cheaper than Kevin Gausman. Probably the two best pitching options. We can debate that as well. But is the price difference enough on Fanduel for you that the number one pitcher looks like Christian Javier of your Houston Astros?
Yeah, I think so. In fact, we got a message in the live stream on Discord. Carolina guy always wants to know my favorite Fanduel single entry pitcher. It is in fact Christian Javier for single entries tonight. I'm a believer because we just saw Framber go out there yesterday and pitch a complete game against this team. This is not a good offense in general. And Christian Javier has been a very good pitcher this year. He had one rough outing and he bounced back from that. He's got this elite mix of the four-seamer and the slider going for him when he's got it going. And he's hitting the top of that strike zone. He's really difficult. So he is, because of this matchup, he's my guy. Kevin Gausman he's been good. Like you watch him and the stuff still looks good. Just hasn't had quite the results this year that we would have, that we were used to in San Francisco last year. So for that, I would place Javier slightly above him. And on FanDuel with the price discount, yeah, I'll eat the ownership. So I'm good with Javier.
Yeah, the ownership reflects that he's 8.7K, Gausman 10.2 on FanDuel. And for that reason, Javier, 23% as far as grabbing ownership. Gausman, the second guy, at 15.5. We'll kind of work our way down. But Keith, I want to talk about on DK. Of course, got a roster 2 on DK. So these ownership numbers are going to jump. Gausman and Javier are essentially the same price. Gausman $100K more, $100 more. That would probably be over the salary cap, $100K. I prefer Gausman over Javier when they're essentially the same price. I think he's a better pitcher. And that White Sox matchup it's pretty appealing with the absence, of no Tim Anderson, no Eloy, no Moncada. You got the carnivore, Jake Berger, batting cleanup. It's not, two catchers, Reese McGuire. Mendick is in there. They called him up. You tell me, what are your thoughts here? Of course, you can go double barrel. I think that's also an option maybe we can discuss and kind of get into. But on DK, who's your favorite pitcher, Keith?
Yeah, I lean slightly to Gausman over Javier too, but it is really close. Price considered, they're the two top pitchers on the slate. You mentioned that White Sox lineup. No Luis Robert either. He's the other guy. They did activate him off the COVID IL, but he's not in the lineup today. Just a really watered down White Sox lineup. And even without the injuries, they have not been very good this year. I have Gausman over strikeouts in the article, and I mean, digging into this White Sox lineup and their numbers this year, they haven't struck out a ton, but they also haven't hit for a lot of power. They're not getting on base. Like, it's just not the same lineup that it was last year. Part of that's some of the injuries, but even like Grandal has really struggled. Abreu's had a bit of a down year. And then today there's a ton of young guys in here, and Gausman features that nasty splitter. Not an easy pitch to hit, not something that a ton of guys throw, so you don't see a lot of them. I think it's particularly effective against young guys. I like Gausman today quite a bit. So I hammered him over 5.5 strikeouts, and then once I saw this White Sox lineup, I took him up the ladder too. Took some of his alternate lines on FanDuel there where they're offered.
How high let you go there? 8, 9, 10? How high can you go?
Up to 10. I think I got 10 plus at plus 750.
Oh, I like that. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I just sprinkled that one. I think it's more likely he ends in that 8 or 9 range, but I like him to get, like Chop mentioned, his strikeouts haven't been quite as strong here recently, but he's going deep into games, and I like this matchup a lot for him. So I've got Gausman number 1 today.
Yeah, he doesn't walk anybody either, and you compound that with this White Sox team being terribly impatient. Outside of a Grandal and Abreu, there's like nobody really willing to take walks. If you fire up the old plate IQ, 2022 season, nobody as far as WOBA is even close to in the green. They're all in the red. That includes even like good hitters like Abreu, who, maybe he's getting a little bit older. He's 35 years old at this point. Grandal has been horrific this season, just terrible. 133 at bats. He's got a 59 ISO, a 202 WOBA against righties this season. That's so bad. It's just bad all throughout. There are some guys that are pretty contact heavy, like in Harrison and McGuire and Abreu, even Vaughn. Surprisingly, kind of surprised me. 18% only striking out versus righties this season. Collectively about 20%, but like you said, the leash is pretty good on Gausman too. Probably not going to walk anybody. He's got a chance to go like 7+ depending on that pitch count. I have Gausman ahead of Javier. And that's the other thing is Javier, Chop, he doesn't go very deep. Like he goes about 5 2/3, maybe getting 6. You want that quality start on Fanduel. You got to get those 6 magical innings. Again, it's kind of baked into the price, but that would be one hit on Javier, Chop. But they did let him go like 90-ish pitches last time, which was good to see.
He's getting up there. The last starts are both over 90 pitches, 6 innings and 5.2, 5 2/3 innings, 1 run total in those 2 games. Like I said, he's coming off that really bad game. He got it together, and I know there's definitely blow up potential in his game. He's still a young guy, but I'm looking at that Oakland lineup, and my goodness, man, like that's a rough looking lineup. I mean, I know the White Sox look rough too, but at least they got a few more quality hitters than Oakland. So I'm okay with it. I know he works deep enough. And plus, just like we saw yesterday, we've never seen Framber go the distance either in his major league career. He crushed 9 innings.
115, right? It was like a 5-1 game, and I think he threw like 115 pitches. I was surprised they gave him the 9th.
He went in the 9th with only like 90 some odd pitches, and okay. He kind of was worked some full counts in the 9th and ran the pitch, and then by the time you do that, you're like too late to bring in Brian Presley for 1 out. You don't want to do that, so you just let him go, and he was never really in danger or stressed or anything like that. But if he can do that, who's to say Javier can't grab his first 7-inning game of the year tonight? I don't know, but I'll take a shot on that watered down lineup that the Oakland has.
I did look. Do you know how many fly balls and ground balls he had yesterday? Because his ground ball rate just fascinates me.
Framber, I mean, I know he struck out like 7 guys, so I know he couldn't have had too many fly balls at all.
Oh, just I see TJ in chat. I was not aware of his Agents of Fantasy article, which is free here at Rotogrinders. That is available. He just went ahead and dropped it there. Show that some love. And if you missed it, I did drop Keith scores and odds article as well. You teased one of them. You said you like Gausman over is one of the ones you locked in earlier. I'm not sure if the odds have since changed on that. You are paying a pretty good bit of juice, but you feel you're okay with that at 5.5. 5.5, and you think that adjusted? You think that's changed since? That seems pretty low.
It got steamed even further once the White Sox lineup came out. I believe he's 6.5 in most places now.
Okay,
but I do still like the over 6.5 lineup considered.
That's why you gotta pounce on this article when it comes out. Like you just gotta eat it up right away. These player props are always, and I'm sure now you're in Arizona, you're a sport, you can sports bet. I'm sure you've noticed such things, Keith, and you got to be quick. You got to be early, and the odds at like 7:00 at night are probably not nearly as good as the odds at like noon. Is that? Can you confirm that? I
can confirm that for sure. Like you could get a pitcher that opens up 5.5 minus 110, and by the end of the night, you're paying juice on 6.5. Like they swing wildly. So yeah, Gausman, by the time I got to it, was already up to minus 150, and now it's moved up a strikeout to 6.5. So yeah, these things definitely move fairly quickly.
You wrote about a couple other pitchers we've not talked about. You did write about Cristian Javier liking him over 5.5. Gausman over 5.5. There's a couple more we haven't talked about. Feel free to, again, I want the people to click on the article. I want them to show you some love, get all of it, but take your pick, dealer's choice. You want to talk about Giolito or you want to talk about Kirby?
I mean, I like both of them. I want to talk about Kirby because of his price tag and his matchup. His strikeout line opened at 3.5, and that just seemed way too low to me. Just struck out 9 when he faced Oakland. Really young guy, making, I believe it's his 5th major league start. was outstanding in his debut against Tampa Bay, then had a tough matchup against the Mets and a tough matchup against Boston before just really showing his stuff against Oakland. But all throughout the minors, a well above average strikeout rate, and his walk rate has been elite. Just doesn't walk anybody really. So I like him to go deep into this game because of the matchup against Baltimore. That park is playing more pitcher friendly. Baltimore striking out a good amount, and there's just not a ton of threats in that Baltimore lineup. It is a little bit better now that they've called Rutschman up, but still like Kirby, I think he can go 6 innings and get you 6 or 7 Ks in this matchup. So he's only 6,600 on DK. I love the ownership number I'm seeing on him. I'm gonna be well over the field on George Kirby today.
If you care about such things, he also has an extreme pitchers umpire. An extreme pitchers umpire today for Kirby, for Baker on the other side, he won't be going very deep. Extreme pitchers umpire today in Wrigley, and one extreme hitters umpire, that is Castillo versus Waka in the Boston game. Chop, are you on board with Kirby?
Yeah, I don't mind this matchup. He's got some pretty good stuff. He's got some pretty electric stuff when he's got it working. So, and I know Baltimore doesn't have. I look at the Baltimore lineup and I think that's not bad. Mullins is okay, and Mancini and Santander are okay. Mountcastle has power, but in general, they haven't pieced it together. The numbers say they're not that particularly good, and he's a pretty good pitcher. So yeah, I'm on board with that.
Yeah, and he's not a nobody. Obviously, a bit of a prospect there. It shouldn't be surprising that he's had some success. And 6.6K on DK is pretty appealing, and he's had 2 good outings, 2 of his 4 as far as Ks. One against Oakland, he struck out 9 guys, 7 guys against Tampa. The other 2, not so great. The control has been good, which is nice to see as well. Hey, Chop, this is your boy, Kirk D's in chat. He's talking about he's eating candy. I don't know, this is important now. But the people are trying to guess what candy is Kirkwood eating. He gave a clue. He said, it's something you eat typically at the movies. My guess was snow caps. Did not. I missed the board. That was a big old X. How well do you know Kirk D's? You know what candy he's eating?
I do not. I guessed Whoppers. I have no idea if that's right or not.
I don't think so. I don't think that's correct. Is Whoppers a go-to in the movie theaters?
Not for me, but some people really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's all right, I guess, I suppose. But did you see Bindfor tweet out yesterday? Did you have you know what I'm talking about here, Chop?
So I do not.
He tweeted yesterday. He said it's like movie night, I guess, with his wife, and he took a trip to the movie theaters, bought their popcorn, and left and watched the movie at home.
Huh?
Yeah.
Run out and buy me again.
Okay.
Run out and buy me again.
I have questions too. Like, why would you play the extra inflated? Is the popcorn that distinctly better at the movie theater?
Wait a minute. So what
the way I understand his tweet is that he walked. I guess you can just walk in and go to the concessions without actually seeing a movie. I don't know. I would imagine they're encouraging that. That's where they get the money. They don't get their money off the movie. So he bought like popcorn for $10-15, whatever it is, and then he went home and watched the movie on his own.
Oh, that's fine. I'm down with that. I thought you meant I thought you meant he went to the movie, paid the movie ticket, and then ended up just going home. No, I'm okay with it. Yes, you walk through the door. There's the concessions in the lobby and everything, and you don't have to show your ticket till after that. So yeah, if you want to go in there and get all the food you want and then go home, that's good. And movie pop, there is nothing.
Does he not have a CVS?
And listen, Dean, please, I'm about to tell you. No matter how hard you try and believe me, I've used all the methods. You cannot duplicate movie theater popcorn. You just can't. You have to have that machine.
Have you used? I'm curious. Now,
I've got air fryers. I've got pan fryers for popcorn. I've got microwave air poppers. I've used that. I even bought a mini replica movie theater style popcorn maker. I've got everything, Dean. I've got so much junk from popcorn making. My wife, I don't even know where to store it. I just can't replicate the movie theater style. So I'm on board with going. In fact, I take it a step further, Dean. I've got like these five-gallon trash bags that are clean, and I use them. See, when I make my popcorn at home, I'll make it and then I'll dump it into it's a food safe trash bag, right? Food safe, not a trash. I shouldn't call it trash bag. Then it's a food safe bag. I dump it in there, and that's how I get the butter, and I mix it up in the bag, and then I'll put it. I'd take the bag, and I'd order my popcorn. I'd go around the corner. I'd dump it in the bag. Then I'd go back and get a refill, dump it in the bag. I'd get like 3 refills before I left the movie theater is what I would do if I was buying 4.
But that's such a how rich move. Like, going to the movie theaters just to buy the popcorn and then leaving. Good for him, I suppose. But Chop, however you were describing that, like, how like Bubba Gump is the shrimp, you are the popcorn. That's kind of the way I was hearing it. You've done it every possible way.
I'm not as good as Bubba Gump was with shrimp because I haven't mastered it yet, but I've definitely tried.
Yeah, well, all right, fair enough. I mean, maybe if it's on the way home, I'm not leaving the house exclusively just for that. All right.
You know what? I would agree that if I didn't have a theater near me, I can agree with that. But luckily for me, Dean, I've got one right down the road.
You don't have an in-house theater? I assume you have an in-house theater.
Oh, come on, Dean. That's rich people stuff.
Well, yeah. Who are we talking to, man?
Nah.
Keith, you got a take on this, or would you go back to baseball?
I mean, movie theater popcorn is a distinct tier above any other popcorn. I don't know that I would make the special trip for it, but I'm on board with the take that it is a tier above.
Sure. Yes. I'm not arguing against that. I'm arguing against it, like to pay the inflated prices and to put pants on. I mean, oh man. But all right. Back to the pitchers. Let's talk about Giolito. Chop, you have a take as far as Luis Giolito tonight?
I'm not sure about Giolito. I think he's going to stay in my player pool, but the matchup is such that it really drives down my interest in him. So we'll see how that plays out. The numbers are okay. The xFIP is good. The hard hit rate is fine. Gets plenty of ground balls, strikes guys out. This particular season, he's been okay, although, he's had his moments where he hasn't been great, but he's been okay. But it's just a matchup. I don't know. Like he's in the mix, but I don't know that he's as talented as some of the other guys up top. And when you factor in the matchup, but with that being said, it looks like on Fanduel, the ownership is incredibly low. So
yeah,
I'm okay. He'll stay in my pool, but it's tough to put him above like a Gaussman. I don't know.
Esteban in chat saying apparently people with DoorDash popcorn. Yeah, if you're gonna go all the way and just stay home and pay the extra $5,
oh, Dean,
that's a thing. I didn't know.
Do you order food like DoorDash and Favor and all? Yeah, man, I quit that. I can't get behind that anymore. I'm done.
Oh, it's a racket for sure.
And I'm done with it. It's expensive, and now they got these drivers that make like 3-4 stops before yours. They pick up other food and deliver to other people. Like they're not just doing one delivery now. They're like working for like 3 different systems, and then it gets there. By the time it gets there, it's a little bit cold. And God forbid they forget something in your order. You're not at the restaurant. You can't get it. I'm done. I'm done with the DoorDashes and the Uber Eats and all that other stuff.
Keith, what's your thoughts as far as Giolito? He is
unlikely and DoorDash. Keith, we want to know what you think about DoorDash.
Yeah, we got to get your DoorDash takes as well. This is important.
I mean, I order probably 2 or 3 times a week from the DoorDash, the Uber Eats. But yeah, I agree. It's a racket. It's overpriced. But the convenience factor, when you're sitting there writing, you just order some lunch and it shows up at the door. That's pretty convenient. So I take advantage of that fairly frequently.
Yeah, that's a reasonable take. Giolito, he's going to be single digit owned as far as we're looking at as far as our ownership, 10.2K on DK, which makes a ton of sense. Like he's more expensive than Gaussman, more expensive than Javier. I believe he's the most expensive pitcher on the slate, even more expensive than Lauer. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's even lower than that, probably like 6, 7, 8%, somewhere around there. He's definitely a contrarian play, but certainly he has the ability. And this Toronto team has not been as advertised, I would say. Certainly they've had their moments. I know TJ and Chad, big Toronto homer, and certainly they have the potential to put up a 10 spot. Wouldn't surprise any of us. But what do you have as far as tournament-wise, Keith? Well, you're rolling out, I presume, your 20 lineups. Is Giolito in your pool?
Yeah, he's definitely in the pool. I love the ownership number. Not a huge fan of the price, but the strikeout potential is huge here. I am concerned about the matchup, though, because Giolito has been reverse splits throughout his career. Toronto's rolling out 8 righties against him.
Yeah.
He has a 216 ISO to righties this year, which is concerning. Like it would not surprise me if he gets touched up for a home run or 2 in this game. But I do like the strikeout potential, so I'll have him just in case Gaussman or Javier bus. I'll be over the field, but it's not going to be significantly over the field. Like, if he comes in 8%, I'll probably try to get 15 or 16%, but he's not going to be one of the main pitchers in my pool.
We have an update in chat. Apparently Kirk Dees was eating dots, which I'm pretty sure you guys, that's the stone worst, like candy at the concession in the movies. Is dots not the worst? I think it's the worst. Maybe, possibly. What's worse than dots?
What are dots? Describe dots, Dean. I'm not sure if I know what dots are.
It's like a gummy sort of.
Oh, yeah, I'm out. You say gummy, I'm out. I hate gummy. I don't like gummy stuff.
We were out. I lost you a gummy. That's it.
Oh, I don't like gummy stuff. No.
It's too gummy. It's too much going on. They're too thick. Keith, are you team gummy? Are you team dots?
No, not team dots. Not a fan.
Oh, that's a contrarian call by Kirk Dees. I don't like that call. He's saying junior mints are the worst. I disagree. Just as long as it's not melted. You get yourself a melted junior mint. Like, what's the point? You don't want that. But yeah, Seinfeld will confirm. He's a big fan of the junior mints. All right. TJ was talking about how he wrote up Giolito in his article. Check out his article. It's in the chat. I'll probably drop it again for you people. It is free on Rotogrinders. Chop, who else do we talk about as far as pitchers? We mentioned Montas, and you kind of sort of somewhat want to pick on him for ownership reasons, and that Houston lineup, of course, be pretty good. Martin Perez has been a magician. He's been spectacular. I don't believe he's going to have a homer all season long. He is facing a Tampa team that's without Wander Franco. He went on the IL today, so that's a pretty big hit. I want to talk about Snell in a second too, but let's save that conversation. But Chapa, Julio Urias is another one who not a great K guy, but a good matchup guy against Pittsburgh. Projections like him for what it's worth. I'm not an Urias guy. They don't let him go terribly deep either. He should be pretty good in 5-ish innings. Who we missing? Who should we focus on here, Chop?
I don't know who we focus on, but yeah, I don't see the upside with Urias. I don't see the upside with a guy who hasn't pitched 90 pitches this whole year and just doesn't strike people out. Right, at least right now he doesn't. So I don't see the upside there. It is a good matchup. We'll see how that plays out. I don't know. And then Martin Perez, man.
By the way, Marlins Rockies postponed.
Oh man,
no Jazz. Man. Oh, what are you gonna do now, Chop? No Jazz.
Dang. I was hoping people would get on that game too, man. And I was kind of looking at going underweight or even fading it, man. That's too bad. But
maybe we'll get a doubleheader tomorrow. See how that goes down.
That's going to mess it because then they won't be probably in the night slate. Those doubleheaders with the tricky time starts.
Roth is tweeting right now about the Colorado game, and I don't know if he realized it just was postponed, but he's probably going to be like, "Oh, gonna have to figure that out." But yeah, he probably just updated his article too. I want to see what he has to say about other games. But yeah, go ahead, Chop. You can continue. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, Urias, lack of upside. So I don't know if he goes out there and puts up a GPP winning performance tonight, it'll be the first time all year probably. So I can. Martin Perez, I don't know what's going on here with Martin Perez, but like he started off the year with a couple of 3-run outings, and that's okay. And then since then, he has failed to give up more than 1 earned run in any start. Like just one start after another. He's just mowing guys down. And he's striking out more guys than Urias, too, by the way. So it's weird. I don't know how he's doing it, but he's doing it. And I'll have a little bit today because I don't think Tampa is I don't know. Maybe I won't. I don't know. It's
well, without Franco, that lineup I think is a pretty significant hit.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's tough. Perez is just a tough one to factor in. That lineup doesn't look particularly great, especially after the first 4. So. Maybe he's still, but I mean, you got to start believing in him at some point. And so I think he's in the mix. And then after that, yeah, we can talk about Blake Snell. I'm not huge into Blake Snell tonight. I just think there's better options, but he's too inconsistent. But maybe Keith has a different opinion.
I like Cheese's take on Snell, and I'm curious. I want to get Keith's take in a second, but just to kind of mop up the Perez thing now, that Tampa lineup is not good, but it is pretty contact heavy, especially the top of the lineup. Collectively, 18.4% as far as Ks, and Perez, not a K savant himself, 19.1% stretched back to last season. And again, he's been super, super lucky. Like he's been good, but also super lucky. He's got a 0% home run the fly ball rate. I'm pretty sure that's not going to stay that way going forward. His ERA, I think, is like 1.7, but his Sierra is like 3.7 or something like that, which isn't terrible. Yeah, 3.71 Sierra. The ERA is 1.6. Good for him. BABIP 266, also pretty lucky there as well. Keith, what do you have there as far as Martin Perez, Urias? What do those guys do for you, if anything?
Neither one does anything for me. Both are low strikeout. Great matchup for Urias, obviously, but he doesn't go deep into the games. The velocity's down. The strikeouts have come down with it. I need to see it out of him. So I'd rather go overweight on the top tier. I'd rather go down to George Kirby. I do like some Snell, which we'll get into. But yeah, Urias and Perez not really doing anything for me for today. Perez is all the way up to 8,900 on DK. There's no upside at that price.
Yeah, regression monsters should be coming at some point for Perez. I don't necessarily mean I like Tampa, but I don't think we're getting like an elite game from Perez tonight. And again, he's probably not going to strike out like 8 or 7. Maybe he goes 6 or 7 innings and strikes out 6 or 7, gives up 2 runs, and he's fine. But he doesn't seem to have the same ceiling as other guys. Talk about Snell because he's cheap. Of course, he's against a bunch of righties for St. Louis. St. Louis has been walloping righties this year. Cheese's article basically talked about how he's kind of given the treatment of Robbie Ray a few years back, right? And again, it makes a ton of sense. Like you play Ray when nobody's playing him because in theory he does have that upside. And Snell, he was also talking about, which I thought was interesting, the matchup is bad, but it almost doesn't matter because Snell's just kind of pitching against himself, right? Either he's on or he's not. He can strike out a bunch, he can walk a bunch, and you sort of know early, like this is the guy. He always can fall off the rails any moment too. He's never a fun guy to watch when you roster him because at any given moment he can walk the bases loaded. But yeah, did you agree with that take, or what's your take, Keith?
Yeah, that take is spot on. He's going to strike out a ton of guys, or he's going to walk a ton of guys. This matchup is extremely difficult against St. Louis. They don't strike out. They're going to run out a bunch of righties, which isn't necessarily a problem in itself against Snell. He strikes out both sides of the plate. But 31% of strikeouts this year, 13% walks. So it's a highly variant spot. I will play some Snell. I'll be pretty well over the field on him as a pitcher, but I'm going to be stacking some St. Louis as well. This is like one of my favorite tournament spots of the night because it could go, I could see both ways playing out. I could see Snell going 6 innings, striking out 8 or 9, or I could see St. Louis tagging him for 5 or 6 runs and getting into the early part of that San Diego bullpen. So I like both sides of this game. I'll have some Snell because of the strikeout upside. One more thing is Snell's leash has been a concern since he came to San Diego. He was up to 104 pitches in that last start. That's encouraging to see. That's kind of what put me over the top. Like I feel good about rostering some Snell here because if he's on even somewhat, they should let him go fairly deep. If I can get 90 to 100 pitches out of him, I feel really good about it, even with a tough matchup.
I feel similarly about Snell as I do about Lauer, where I think you can play both sides of it. If you want to spend up on Lauer and pick on this Cub team, it's not very good. There's a ton of strikeouts in that lineup. Or, take advantage of that wind, and Lauer does give up a ton of fly balls, and there is some power on that Chicago side. I can see him going like what the Ashby thing yesterday. What do you have, 10, 11, 12 strikeouts?
12. Yeah, it's 12 strikeouts for Ashby yesterday.
Man, were you in on that by chance? You happen to ladder that one up?
I did not ladder that one. I did have him over 4.5. I think he might have even been. So the number was too low to start with against that team. Yeah. Like even if a guy gives up a couple homers, he can strike people out. So I did have him over strikeouts, but I did not run him up the ladder. Should have done that.
Yeah. Shout out to Chief was talking about him yesterday. So that was a good call, like as a potential tournament play. But do you feel similarly as far as Lauer, where I think you can play some of the Chicago guys, especially some of the power righties? And I also think Lauer is in play. He's kind of overpriced, but there are some Ks there. And I'm not saying he's going to duplicate what Ashby did, but like this lineup's not great. It certainly can happen again. How are you handling Lauer?
Yeah, I'm not as high on Lauer as I was on Ashby yesterday because Lauer gives up a ton of fly balls. If the wind's blowing out, it's like 10 to 15 today, which is not as high as it was yesterday, but it's still enough to matter in Wrigley. And the other thing is Lauer's velocity was up a good amount at the beginning of the year. His average fastball was over 94.5. In his last 2, it's been down around 93. So that uptick in velocity that he was experiencing that led to the uptick in strikeout rate has kind of come back down in his last 2 starts. So given the added risk with the Wrigley wind and the fly ball tendencies of Lauer, I'm going to be overweight on him because I do like the strikeout upside, but I don't feel as good about it as like I'll be more overweight on Giolito than I will on Lauer. Let's put it that way.
Milwaukee lineup is McCutchen, Urias, Yelich, Taylor, Brousseau, Talese, Hira, Kane, and Caratini. Caratini got his revenge yesterday. with a completely ridiculous home run. I don't know if you saw it. It was a unicorn, according to the Twitter account, the only ballpark it would have went out of. And it needed all the wind, too. It just barely grazed the basket. Good for him. Well, this is your team, isn't it, Keith, the Cubbies, right?
They are, indeed.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's going to be a long year. They're bad now, and they're going to be trying to make as many trades as they can, I think, here in about a month. So
who can they trade? Who's worth even
Contreras is coming up on free agency. They'll move him. They made a couple of nice bullpen signings, David Robertson and Chris Martin. I think they'll move for something. But yeah, it's not a lot to like on the north side of Chicago here this year.
Do they still have like a big salary? Like, I know they're giving Hayward a bunch of money. Are they on the hook for a lot of guys that I'm not even thinking about, or they're just not?
No, they got rid of most of it. So I think they're just taking a step back. They get rid of the Hayward contract after this year as well. So they should be spending a ton of money and getting ready to reload here really soon.
Man, all right. Chop, give me your final thoughts as far as pitchers.
My final thoughts are that I like the top 5 or 6 options on the slate that I talked about. And I can't say outside of Gaussman is a true ace, and I like Javier's matchup and price tag on FanDuel. And outside of those 2 factors, that's what separates those guys. The other guys behind them, I really can't. It's tough to separate them. So I like those top couple options, and then the next tier kind of all follows into the same pot for me. And then when we get outside of that, the rest of those guys I don't want to use. The bottom 10 guys or so, you won't see them on my roster tonight.
Keith, looking at the ownership stuff on DK, let me give it a refresh as well. Feel free to give your final thoughts, but I'm just curious, is there anybody you're taking a distinct stand that you're going to be well over or well under as far as the ownership projection that we have tonight for pitchers?
Yeah, the Urias ownership projection, I hope that's true. I will not have a single Urias lineup. So if he comes in over 25%, I will be very happy about that. I'm happy to fade a guy who isn't going to go deep into the game. I'll be underweight on Montas as well. Don't like the matchup against Houston. Don't think there's a ton of strikeout upside there. I'll be over on Giolito, Lauer at the top, and then Snell and Kirby are my favorite ways to save money. I'll be significantly over the field on both of those guys.
Yeah, I'm taking a peek at our consensus ranking, see if we missed anybody, but I feel like we discussed. I think Montas, to me, it can change. It's in flux if we lose Altuve, if we lose Tucker on that Houston side.
Fair, yep.
Would that change for you?
It would, yeah, especially Altuve, who's a very, very high contact, scrappy hitter at the top. So, yeah, Altuve matters quite a bit.
Let's give our favorite plays around the horn. We'll talk about some stacks some more. We'll talk about whatever the chat wants to talk about. What's up, chat? Hit that. Look, TJ is going to come on and he's going to have his Spider-Man thing and he's going to say, we need X number of likes. Let's just knock him out of the way now. Let's cut out the middleman. I don't like the grovel. I don't like the beg. But like, come on, hit the like button. What is that? Honestly, what is the effort there? Smash it, caress it, whatever your adjective choice is. Knock that out. Get it out of the way. You'll get your Spidey bombs later when TJ and I believe DerekCarty, as well as Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth, they'll be joining the show in about 35, 40 minutes, give or take. I got one more question. Yeah, Sands, are we talking about Sands at all? He's like not going to go very deep. I know he's crazy cheap, right, Keith? But do we think he can pitch long enough where he's worth basically a punt at SB2?
I think he would be viable on a different slate because Kirby is down there and I have so much Kirby. I don't find myself needing Sands very much. The price tag is good. He's probably only going 3 or 4 innings. Like even in the minors, he was only 3 or 4 innings in his starts. Great matchup against Detroit. He is a bit of a prospect, has shown good strikeout stuff. So, I mean, I would not try to talk you off him if you want to include him in the pool. I don't know that I need the money when I'm playing so much Kirby. So I don't have a ton of him today, but I don't hate it at all.
Let's talk catcher. I'll start with you, Keith, because you're going to be focusing on DK and DK. They force you to roster catcher. Chop, we'll talk about some FanDuel stuff. Of course, you can roster catchers. You don't have to. Some of your favorite catching options tonight, Keith. What do you have for me?
Yeah, the Dodgers are in a great spot here. So Will Smith is the top play here. I like Contreras with a little bit of wind blowing out, a platoon advantage against Lauer. Rutschman, kind of a mid-range guy. Like I love Kirby today, but Rutschman is a super talented hitter. Can definitely get some of him. Garver is in a really good spot against Yarbrough. Is that Texas roof open? Do we know? Because it was yesterday and the ball was flying a little bit. That has a huge impact on that park from what we've seen.
Let me check the Twitter account. John Blake's my go-to, or just go to like a Globe Life or Globe, whatever it's called, park. You can find it. He has not tweeted out just yet. Maybe the ballpark has. I'll let you know. Go ahead, continue.
All right. Keibert Ruiz is another guy I like. And Mike Zunino. And like Martin Perez is going to give up a homer at some point. Like, it's ridiculous. He hasn't given up a homer all year. Zunino could get him today.
Job, are you taking a trip yet to that Texas ballpark? I understand Texas is a big state and it's probably not that close to you, but it's closer than it is for you than it is for a lot of people. Have we checked it out? Because I hear it's like people aren't really thrilled with it. My understanding.
It is not even close to me, so no, I've not been up there. And
it was like 8 hours, 10 hours. How far? I mean,
what is that? Arlington is probably about a 5 or 6 hour drive. Yeah. I don't want to mess around with all that.
Yeah, I know. I remember waking up in Texas, driving all day in Texas, and still going to sleep in Texas. It's a big state. All right. What do you have, Chop, as far as catchers tonight?
Yeah, I think the Contreras, Will Smith call are the elite guys if you've got the money. If you don't have the money on Fanduel, let's say a really cheap one, if for some reason you want Alejandro Kirk in a good spot in the batting order and a fair enough matchup, or not fair enough, but it's price tag $2,300 and get behind it. And on DraftKings, when I sorted and started looking for how can I save money at catcher, and because if I played on DraftKings, I would like to punt it mostly, and it's probably Cal Raleigh for Seattle in a fairly good matchup. I know he's batting ninth, but I mean he's stone minimum, I think, or he's pretty close to it on DraftKings. Really cheap. He's the cheapest one I saw that was relevant. So. Yeah, but if you got the money, Will Smith, Wilson Contreras, Keith is a Cubs guy. He's just talking about Contreras. Is Contreras a good defensive catcher, or is he just all offense?
He has improved greatly here recently. Like, his pitch framing is really good, and he's always had the strong arm. So yeah, he's a plus defensive catcher.
Okay, then I'd be interested in a trade, Keith. I'd be interested. I'll ship you Jose Siri for Wilson Contreras. How about that?
We could work something out, I'm sure. We need some pitching. What do you got for pitching?
Yeah, pitching right. Oh, Dean, come on, Dean, get out of here. This is a half season rental. Contreras is a half season rental, man. Yeah, that's the problem. Is you just going to rent for half a season.
You hate McCullers.
Oh, I love McCullers. I just don't like that he's injured so much.
Yeah,
I love McCullers, man. Dean, he's a great member of the community. He does a lot with the dogs that get lost out there, and he does a lot of stuff with the dogs in Houston. Gives them homes and stuff. He's an awesome guy off the field.
Oh, do we have an update, by the way? You mentioned this a couple weeks ago that you potentially might be inheriting a dog. It's all pending, I guess. Well, the end of the school season. Isn't it close to the end of the school season, if not over?
There's so much that happened. First of all, the all Bs, I asked for in order to get the all Bs from the one boy. Yeah, that didn't happen. All right.
What did he fail?
I mean, what like
didn't he fail?
It's more like yeah, it's more closer to that. Like I don't think he failed anything, but he's just so cool with just getting his D's and working. I passed, so no big deal. And then plus on top of that, my other son, who's this pet freak, he's got all these pets, right? Now he's getting a bearded dragon lizard this summer. So
like a Komodo?
Yeah, something like that. They're like that. They're bearded dragon, and it's just so much going on.
That? You're cool with that, I
guess. See, here's the thing. I told him, you handle your business. You get all A's. You do what you got to do, and I'll let you do it. And that was a mistake because he's a really good student, and he gets A's in his sleep. And then I didn't do the research on these things, and I did the research after I already given my word. So now I can't go back on it. So yeah, I gotta let him get it, but I'm not.
What if he gets in the elephants? So where do you draw the line?
Dean, we're being realistic here, Dean. Freaking elephant, man.
Big fan of tigers. You don't have a nice backyard suitable for an elephant?
So we got to put up with this, Dean. He's got a bearded dragon. He's got fish all over his room, hamsters, all kinds of stuff, man.
Oh, there's fish they're contained, are they not? They're not just lurking.
None of it's lurking. None of it's lurking except for this food this live food he has to get for this bearded dragon, it's freaking me out, Dean.
What does a bearded dragon eat?
when in the first year of their life, you got to feed them these live roaches, man.
Oh,
it's rough. It's so bad. I can't believe I agreed to this without doing that research.
can you get those DoorDash, or you got to go to the store for the live roaches?
You gotta go to the store, man. But I'm freaking out myself, Dean, because I'm not a big fan of the roach.
Well, they won't be around for long, the way I understand it.
No, Dean, they will be, because you got to order like 500 at a time.
What is a meal? Like 10, 20 roaches for the?
Jeez, I think it's like 5 roaches 3 times a day. But in order to get them shipped to you, you got to buy a certain amount. So he's got to get like, he's talking about he's got to get like 500 of them. I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible.
Wow. All right. So, and the dog, we don't know. That's still kind of
it's just so much. I don't know if I want to go through with that, but I'm still thinking about
it. Esteban, our DoorDash expert in chat, says you can get roaches DoorDash to you through PetSmart. So there you go, Chopper.
Fair enough.
We'll give it a shot. See what happens. First base is pretty solid. We did lose Cooper and Aguiar, but I think Keith, one of the best players in the entire slate. We get the Polar Bear, Pete Alonso. I know the ballpark's not great for smashing homers, but he doesn't care. And he's also facing Patrick Corbin, who just gives up a whole bunch, especially to power righties. He's my favorite first baseman. He's a lot of people's favorite first baseman tonight. Of course, you have Freeman there against Pittsburgh. Rizzo, in Yankee Stadium. We should have mentioned, by the way, and let me pull up. I'm going to pull back for a second. I'm going to yield to you here, Keith, as far as first base, but we did have a lot of red fire emojis, not just in Wrigley, but multiple ballparks. Let's see if that's changed weather-wise, but tell me some of your favorite first basemen.
Yeah, there's a ton of good options here at first. I like spending up for the most part. Alonso, like you mentioned, would be the top overall play. Freeman in a great spot. I really like Goldschmidt as well. Mentioned I'm going to be stacking St. Louis in addition to playing Snell. Goldschmidt's had a great season. I like Rizzo in Yankee Stadium there. Matt Olson is another one of my favorites. Love the Brave stack against the low strikeout righty for Arizona. There are some cheap options as well. Let's see. Miranda is back for the Twins. I like this Twin stack quite a bit against the young lefty for Detroit, who really struggled in his first time out, struggles with walks as well. So the Minnesota stack is another one of my favorites. Luke Voigt is really cheap against Wainwright with big power. And Franchi Cordero is also cheap for Boston.
Where do you like Unleasha Miranda? He's third base eligible and first base eligible. Basically, the question, I guess, is like what position is deeper, first or third today?
Yeah, both are good, but I love the options at first. I would mostly kick Miranda over to third.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at as well. 2.7K, big time prospect for Minnesota, facing basically who we would face in the minors, it seems, and Wentz there. Chop, what do you like at first?
Yeah, so I had to delete the Colorado Miami game, which was giving me a lot of my players I was going to mention, but so taking that off the board. I agree with a lot of what Keith said, and the guys that I can't play in that game now. I'm going to say for salary on FanDuel, I'm don't like it, but I'm looking at Joey Votto for salary. That's a cheap price at first base against in a pretty favorable matchup for him. And like you guys said, like I just feel like Pete Alonso is head and shoulders so much better than everybody else tonight. This is by the way, it's a great matchup. Lefty on righty. He's got the power, everything working. He's, if you want to call him hot, I don't know if people believe in that or whatever, but he's doing well at the plate right now. And on top of all that, he's got the chop BVP of the day.
What is it? What do you have as far as his BVP?
He's got a full 32 at bats against Patrick Corbin with a 12.29 OPS, 4 homers, 6 extra base hits. I can get behind it. He's ascending in his career, and Corbin is descending. So we're gonna have some fireworks tonight.
Alonso finally getting paid somewhat. You remember he's won the home run derby a couple times, and I think at least one of those times when he won it, he basically made the same amount of money when the home run derby as he made for the entire season, more or less. Making $7.5 million. He's going to get paid pretty good. 27 years old, 2 more years of arbitration, unrestricted free agent at 30. But he feels like one of the more undervalued guys in the leagues for whatever reason. And, he's stuck in a bad ballpark for power, but he doesn't care. Doesn't really hurt him so much. Let's jump to second, Chop. Who are some of your favorite second basemen? For me, well, I had your boy Jazz. Like Jazz a good bit. Unfortunately, I crossed him off the list. Morel, I believe, is leading off today for the Cubbies, for Keith's Cubbies. He's got some power. He's got some speed potential. He is leading off once again. I like Albies, which is a little bit cheaper, like that ballpark there in Arizona. Don't know if the roof is open or not. Want to confirm, want to deny. Somebody in chat. They had sources that I couldn't find as far as that roof being open or closed. Let us know what's going on as far as the roof in Arizona, and we'll find the roof info in Texas as well. But Chop, second base, what do you have?
Yeah, I'm kind of I lost a couple guys with that rain out. So the one guy I did have highlighted still on my list, Ozzy Albies. I was hoping a better spot in the batting order, but we have to live with this. It's still a good team total, a good matchup, and I'm good with Ozzy Albies. After that, it's a lot more murkier for me. So, Gleyber Torres, if you don't believe Syndergaard is, maybe he's getting a little bit lucky. Gleyber Torres is in the mix. We'll wait and see on Jose Altuve if he makes the lineup. I kind of think it's a pretty fine matchup against Montas, his style versus Montas. So I'm good with Altuve if he makes the lineup. And after that, it's really kind of rough, man. Maybe Adam Frazier was really cheap on FanDuel, and I don't mind the matchup and everything that goes along with it. So, but Ozzy Albies is the guy that stands out to me after the Colorado rain out, because yes, I was going to be all in on Jazzy.
Roof experts in chat, Shannon and Josh, are telling us the roof is open in Arizona today. Appreciate that. Frazier is more of a guy like I'd probably have part of a stack. If you're stacking up Seattle, I would include him. I don't like him as an a la carte piece necessarily.
Who's good, Dean, but he's batting eighth today, so I can't do it. But when he's batting leadoff, I do blame Guillermo.
Oh, he's not good.
He's solid as a leadoff. This Mets team, Dean, is like so good, right? I mean, the record at least, and they're putting up massive runs on offense, and they're doing it without the
pitching.
Their two best pitchers basically almost the entire year. It's crazy how good they are offensively, and so if I can when I get a guy cheap like that at the top, but he's batting eighth, so I can't mess with him today.
He's not DFS good, I should say. He's like a Luis Ariz, like he's going to make contact or whatever. He got there yesterday, but you need multiple events. And he was like 2K on FanDuel. I'm not sure what he is today. Probably still pretty cheap. Escobar, I kind of like a little bit. I like anybody against Corbin. So sure. The Mets stack, I think it's going to be pretty popular. Hey, I want to get your thoughts on second real quick, Keith, but walking it back, who did I see in chat? They're talking about, they couldn't believe we did not talk about Josh Bell at first base. Did we make a mistake? He's fine. If you want to roster Bell, I'm not going to say you can't do it, but he's not necessarily on my radar. He's okay. But yeah, you have a Josh Bell take, Keith, and give me a second baseman.
I mean, I do like the price. 3,500 is a good price, but Trevor Williams has actually been fairly decent for the Mets. So I don't mind the Washington stack. I don't think Williams is anything to be afraid of. And I would say Bell's slightly underpriced. So yeah, we probably overlooked him a little bit.
Second base?
Over at second, agree with Chop on Albies, even though he's batting seventh. I'm still all about the Braves today. Love that call. On DK here, we've got the Twins, so Polanco is grading out as one of the best plays for me. Don't mind Ariz in the lefty. I like Tommy Edman as part of a Cardinals stack. Marcus Semien seems to be starting to figure some things out. He's got the platoon advantage against Yarbrough today, so I'm fully on board with that. If you need somebody cheap, Matt Duffy is hitting fourth for the Angels with the platoon advantage.
Morel, you like him on the Cubs? I think Morel is kind of the opposite maybe of Guillermo, where I don't know if he's very good, but I think he's like DFS good. Like he'll hit some homers, he'll strike out, he'll steal some bases, but we like that. As far as I can tell, he's not a big prospect in the organization, like maybe 15 or 20 in their rankings. Is that kind of like fair to say? Like he's a good DFS player.
So he's a really toolsy player. So he has been getting steam recently, and he was on the 40-man. That's part of why he got the call. But he's been incredible since he's been up. And you're exactly right. A lot of power, a lot of speed. There is some strikeout in his game. But yeah, for DFS leading off, I love him.
Yeah, I like him a good bit today as well. Let's see. I'm trying to see if the chat has anything else. They're talking about Duffy is like you mentioned. Let's jump to third base, Keith. Some of your favorite third basemen tonight. I still don't know what to do with Luis Castillo. Like I'm not rostering him. How much should we pick on him? Devers, certainly, one of the best hitters. Another guy, probably one of the more underrated hitters in baseball. in Boston too, which is kind of surprising. Big spotlight there. Obviously you got to pay for him. He's pretty expensive. Riley for Atlanta is another guy that's kind of jumping out for me. Matt Carpenter, if you want to get frisky, in Yankee Stadium, we know about that left field line for lefty power against the righty in Syndergaard. And yes, before I throw it to you, I do want to mention, show some love to Roth's weather tool and the red fire emoji. We have it in Detroit today, 88 miles per hour, and the wind is blowing in, but it still doesn't seem to care about that. Not on the slate, but we have a red fire emoji in Cleveland. Red fire means like it's good hitting. It's a quick way of basically saying it's a good hitting environment. Philadelphia not in the slate, but also red fire, 92 degrees. In Philly, Yankee Stadium, 89 degrees. The wind is blowing out to right center, 89 degrees as far as the temperature. 102 game sample size, 25% bump in home runs we've seen in similar games. So, I don't hate Carpenter as a punt. Also, Baltimore, another red fire emoji. There should be a plethora, a good bit of homers, and even in New York, not a great ballpark as far as traditionally for homers, but red fire emoji, good hitting weather. Patrick Corbin on the bump. So a lot of games, even St. Louis and San Diego is jumping too. We should have sort of focused on that earlier, Keith. But your thoughts on that and your thoughts on third base in general?
Yeah, the weather's definitely warming up, and that's going to make the balls jump. Be interesting to see if the humidors around the league now have any effect, but we're starting to see more offense. I think we continue to trend in that direction. Like, it just doesn't make sense for Major League Baseball to suppress offense when that's what everyone wants. So I think we're going to start seeing some offense here in a hurry, if we haven't already started seeing it. So love the hitting weather all across the league here today. There's going to be a lot of runs scored. You're going to need a big score to take down a tournament today. Pretty sure of that. Over at third, you mentioned Riley, like him in the middle of the Braves lineup. JD Davis is really cheap in the middle of the Mets lineup against Corbin there. Love that one. Escobar also against Corbin, like him a good amount. Edwin Rios, if he cracks the Dodgers lineup, love him. He's had a pretty decent year. He's still under 4K. Arenado for the Cardinals. Machado has had a really good year. Don't mind him as a one-off. I won't be stacking San Diego against Wainwright, but I don't mind him on Machado one-off. And we touched on Miranda at first, but I would prefer him over here at third.
Dodger lineup is out. Rios has cracked it. He's DHing. He's batting fifth.
Nice.
Leading off is Betts, Freeman, Trey Turner, Will Smith, Rios, Justin Turner, Chris Taylor, Lux. And again, I still can't believe that Kevin Pillar is playing baseball. I was really surprised when I saw that.
Is he the hottest hitter in baseball, Dean?
Yeah, I saw that tweet and I was like, what? He had 0 hits in the majors this year. Apparently he did like 9 homers in the minors, which I wasn't aware of. Like, good for him. But yeah, good. Kevin Pillar, who he's batting ninth for the Dodgers tonight. Chop, what do you have as far as some of your favorite third basemen?
Yeah, so I would, some of the guys who are, Arenado against the lefty is always in play, and Snell is inconsistent, and we know that, and a lineup full of right-handers. I mean, I can see Arenado in GPPs. Austin Riley, I don't mind Austin Riley. He's a really good hitter, and it's a good matchup. Machado mentioned, I don't mind that. I think for tournaments, which I like to play, probably one of my favorite plays is if you like high strikeouts, but a lot of power, you can play some Patty the Tooth. Chicago Cubs, Patrick Wisdom. They call him Patty the Tooth, Dean, in case you didn't know.
I don't think they call him.
That's his nickname.
Maybe he's like smart. Is that can't be it?
No. Well, no, he's Patty the Tooth.
Why do you go the route? I understand what you're doing. I get it. It's clever with the wisdom tooth, right? But maybe he's just like a smart guy. Why didn't you go that angle?
Because I didn't make it up, Dean. This is his nickname.
You did make that was a chop back. That was not.
This is his nickname, Dean.
That is not his nickname. Nobody calls him that.
It will be by the end of the show.
Okay, so Kirk D's in chat says that's his legit nick. Last time I called you guys in this for the record, I was wrong. But let's see. Small sample size. You're only
so as a diehard Cubs fan, who like since birth, way before they were even good, and who still follows them even when they're terrible. I'm gonna have to call BS here, Chop.
But answer me this: is that not a great nickname for him?
Maybe we can make it a thing.
Let's make it a thing.
Like
man. I like it. Let's make it a thing.
Does the tooth sound like an imposing, like, oh man, the tooth is up and the base is loaded? I'm so nervous.
It doesn't have to, Dean. It has nothing to do with imposing, or if he's. Patrick Wisdom could have his bachelor degrees from Harvard. I don't care how smart he is, Dean. It's a nickname and it fits.
Well, why does the tooth fit in Wisdom?
Because it's
the brain. Why
the
can't
Wisdom? It's a
brain?
tooth, and it's shortened from Patrick to Patty, and it all comes together. It's perfect.
It is catchy.
Would you rather be known as the brain or the tooth?
Again, Dean, we're not worried about what he wants to be known as. You don't get to make your own nickname, man. Unless
you literally made your own nickname. What are you talking about? You wrote that your own rule.
His actual nickname per Boog Giambi is P Wizzy, which I am on board with as well.
And Boog is their
play-by-play guy.
Yeah, former Marlin announcer. Now he's in the booth for Chicago. All right, let's talk about some shortstop. By the way, I did the whole weather thing and I didn't mention. I didn't mean to ignore it, but should have. We kind of talked about it several times throughout the show on Chicago. But I can tell you guys specifically what weather says for Patrick the Tooth and the rest of the Cubbies tonight. Expect an upgrade as far as your chances to bang out some homers. 110 game sample, 59% increase in home runs with the similar weather. 13 miles per hour, basically dead center. 82 degrees as far as the temp, and runs have spiked at 34% as well. Chop, some shortstop this evening. Who do you have for us? And feel free to make up some more nicknames on the fly.
Dean, I like some shortstop. Why do we call Jesse Winker the flirter?
Well, you say I made that one up, I believe. And
okay. So you can make nicknames up, but I can't.
I acknowledge that it's fraudulent. It's not real.
It's a good one though, right? I give you credit. I give you credit. It's a good nickname. Why can't you just pat me on the back and say, great nickname, Chop? Patty the Tooth. It's so catchy. Shortstop, if you want to spin up, Lindor, powerhouse offense, great matchup. If you're more in the mid-range or lower range, depending on what site you're at there. I love that Dansby Swanson got the second spot in the batting order tonight. I like that. And I don't mind J.P. Crawford batting cleanup tonight against Baker. So I'm on board with J.P. Crawford. So those are the three guys I had highlighted.
Chop, I feel like I'm hearing you like Seattle a little bit.
You know, they weren't really a team that I looked at in the stacks and said, yeah, I'm going to jump on them. But the more I'm going through the individual plays, they may end up being a sneaky little stack here. They do have some players here tonight. Yeah, I don't mind that.
What are your thoughts here, Keith, as far as shortstop?
Yeah, Lindor, the clear top play, I think. Urias in the win game, don't mind him at all. Got some pop hitting second there. Turner for the Dodgers, always in play. Bogart's always in play. I like the Swanson call as well in the 2-hole. Off the board, I mentioned Giolito and his right-handed power. I don't mind if you want to one-off Bo Bichette. The prices come down. Good power there for Bichette. Nobody's playing him.
Yeah, I think he was my last shortstop I ranked today for that reason. Pretty good price. Was it 4.4K? Is that what it is?
Yep.
By the way, Chop, how come you didn't say Mr. Smile? You know who Mr. Smile is, right?
No, who's Mr. Smile?
Lindor, I believe, right?
There you go. Yeah,
Wow.
That's a legit that. Yeah, that's the legit call him. He's always smiling when he's playing baseball.
Yeah, good
smiling more these days because the Mets are doing really, really well for themselves. Let's jump to the outfield. Crunch time crew should be coming out in about 5-ish minutes or so. You're gonna get Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth giving you guys any updates that needs to be updated as far as weather. Of course, if y'all missed it, the Colorado Marlins game that is no more. That is no longer. It has been zapped from the slate. If anything else is lurking, Roth will talk about it. DerekCarty will tell you what the bat is spitting out, and TJ Zwarych will also give his tournament takes as well. Check out TJ's article if he's still around. TJ, go ahead. We get new people, kind of lurking in and out throughout the show. So drop that article, TJ, that you've I forgot the title of it. I believe I have it in front of me. Agents of Fantasy, where he talks about his love of both fantasy baseball and uses some puns that are Marvel-esque. Sure, let's use that word. Why not? Outfield, Keith, what do you have for me?
We've got Buxton over here on DK only. Love him as a play with the platoon advantage there against the young lefty. Acuna, obviously, awesome. Betts and Trout as well. Soto is a little bit underpriced. Don't mind him at all. The Brewers outfielders are just ridiculously cheap. McCutchen leading off would be my favorite. Taylor, assuming he's in that lineup again, I believe he is.
Yeah.
And Winker at 3,800, really like his price tag. Canna's leading off for the Mets at 3K. There's just a ton of options here, all over the price range. Garlic is hitting third for 2,200. Obviously, some pinch hit risk there for him. Don't mind Mullins. Like some of these Baltimore guys against Kirby are fine. Mentioned JD Davis at third. He's also really cheap and playable in the outfield. Yeah, that pretty much covers it.
Yeah, there's like a general thought. Do you think DK specific, especially? I think are people going to be spending down at the outfield with you're talking about the Milwaukee guys are really cheap. Taylor and McCutchen, awesome weather. Steele, not a pitcher you're afraid of. Plenty of power upside. Kana's leading off versus Corbin. Is it kind of sort of somewhat contrarian just to play? And again, it's a 12-game slate, or what is it? We lost. Well, it's 11 game on Fanduel, 12 on DK. People just aren't. You're not going to see people playing Judge or Trout. Spending up in the outfield is kind of the point to get away from the most popular guys, which will be, I presume, Taylor and McCutchen to start that are cheap.
Right. Yeah. I think the cheaper guys will grab some of the ownership just because we like the expensive pitching on this slate too. But like Buxton isn't going to be unowned. I don't think Judge will be unowned. None of the Mets guys will be unowned. Acuna is grabbing some ownership. So like, it's just all pretty much spread out. I'm not really too concerned about ownership in the outfield really at all.
Yeah. I'm looking at ownership stuff. Nobody's projected. JD Davis, the highest number. I mean, I personally would not have him the most. I understand why people are why he's popping. He's 2.6K against Corbin, but yeah, and he's also in my head feels like a bit of a pinch hit risk if they throw a righty. I think that's correct. Is that correct, Keith? He's a righty, isn't he? Davis?
He is a righty for sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how they usually handle that.
Maybe he can turn like Dom Smith or something like that.
They just sent Dom Smith down, actually. So maybe it's not as risky, which was a surprise to me.
He can't turn it to Dom Smith.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I'm trying to look real quick here on the fly if I can find the pinch hit risk here.
I'll throw out the Chop. I'll get back to you. Chop, your outfielders?
So the three of them he mentioned, Acuna is fine. McCutchen, I do like against the lefty. If I'm ever going to play McCutchen anymore, it's going to be against the lefty. Yeah. And then, we talked about Bell earlier and Keith not liking the matchup. I didn't like it either. Soto is going to be my only Washington guy that I have in my player pool. So he's an option. And then a couple guys that haven't got mentioned yet. Starling Marte in this powerful offense is fine. And to your point at the last position, maybe Seattle being sneaky, Julio Rodriguez is smashing the ball right now, and he's got a nice matchup on tap tonight. So Julio Rodriguez is fine.
Future Rookie of the Year?
We'll see if anybody gets injured or anything, but
Rutschman could catch him if he goes nuts. But I think Julio's the front runner right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Last I saw, he was like plus 330.
You guys are disrespecting my boy PJ.
Yeah, I knew that's where that was going.
Yeah. He's good. No, I like him.
Somebody is liable to get injured, then the other guy will win. So we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. 4% pinch hit risk according to the bat for JD Davis. So seems 4%? Pretty safe.
Oh, yep. Okay. All right. That's not very high. And we were still waiting on that Houston lineup. We talked about Tucker and Altuve being questionable tonight. I didn't get what you said, Chop. You said that Baker's got two different lineups ready to go. Like, what if one is in and one is out? Doesn't he need three lineups ready to go? It threw me off. Like, what?
I'm just saying what he was quoted as saying earlier.
So then he knows one of the guys is out or in.
No, what? No, it's all he knows everything except for Altuve. Altuve is the one they don't know about. So if he's in, this will be a lineup. If he's out, this will be the lineup.
So is Tucker in or out?
The other guy, well, we don't know. But it's not they know, but we don't know.
Okay, that's what
he already know. They've already got a plan on all these guys. So it's just the Altuve is it a concussion? Is he got a headache today? Whatever it is. So that'll be the tipping point on when he releases the lineup.
All right, we're gonna predict some homers. Who's gonna bang out some homers today, Chop? Be as ambitious as you want to be. Give me 3 guys. If you want to give one a double dong, by all means, go for it. Have some fun with it.
If there is a double dong candidate, and the guy who, if I was going to assign percentages on these things, the highest percentage tonight for me for at least a single home run, Pete Alonso, is going to be at the top of the list. But I'm also going to go with Julio Rodriguez, a guy I just talked about. This guy's good, man. He's slick. I like him. And I'll go off the radar and say Arenado, because I just don't think anybody's given the Cardinals much of a chance. And although it's tough to go against Blake Snell's lefty, if he comes in, if he's not throwing strikes, he could get run out early. It could be a bullpen game. Even if he is throwing strikes, Arenado's very, very accomplished against left-handers. So I'll go off the radar and go Arenado as far as ownership.
Crunch Time Crew coming in a few minutes. We're currently at 71 likes. Let's bump those up. Like if we can get to 100 before TJ shows up. TJ and Spider-Man get all the credit, and whatever we end up with at the end of the night. And I'm all about sharing credit for sure. But let's give him a good starting point, because sometimes we start a little too low when he jumps on the air with the Crunch Time Crew. You got DerekCarty, and you have Kevin Roth jumping on as well. See those homers, Keith, and raise them. Who else is going to homer tonight?
Give me Byron Buxton at the top. In the mid-range, I'm going to go Dalton Varsho. I like the Diamondbacks as a bit of a sneaky stack here against Morton. He's given up a ton of power to lefties this year. Varsho, my favorite play there. And then a cheap one, give me Jesse Winker.
Ooh, I like that one. So what do we have, Keith, as far as stacks? Is there anything you're taking a big stand on? Or are you just going to get some Cubs and no Cubs, too many Cubs? Milwaukee, the other side, as far as some weather, especially on DK, where the prices are really, really appealing. And that's, I think, where people are going to go. They're going to go double barrel and roll out, at least a partial Milwaukee stack. They're just so cheap, especially at the top. Basically, where you're taking the biggest stand right now as far as your stacks.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good, but I would say Milwaukee is probably one of the spots I'm going underweight. They're really cheap and they're in a good spot. Maybe some rain creeps in and costs them an inning or two. Justin Steele can have big strikeout games at times, so maybe we see a big strikeout performance from Steele. But I'll probably be underweight on Milwaukee just because of the top think it's a pretty good spot for them. I will have some Cubs exposure. Agree, like the top 3 stacks, I'll just be pretty much even with the field. I agree they're the top 3, and I'll eat some of that chalk. To get off the board a little bit, Minnesota is one of my favorites. I just mentioned Arizona against Morton. They're really left-handed. Morton has struggled with lefties. So I like the way the Arizona stack sets up. In Seattle, we've talked about quite a bit during the show. There's just some pieces that fit nicely there. Definitely not scared of that Baltimore bullpen. So I like Seattle to get a little different also. Oh, and St. Louis is one of my favorites. Even though I'm playing a lot of Snell, I'll have a lot of St. Louis as well.
Are people playing St. Louis? Because you don't really want to pick on Snell, right? In theory, but he's also a guy that can blow up. And the weather, it's not an amazing hitting ballpark, obviously, but the weather is good today. And certainly there's an upside where we've seen the St. Louis lineup implode or explode, especially against righties. That's one of those where I might play one Snell and I might have I don't play a ton of lineups, but one Cardinal stack, that kind of thing. Because I'm not really sure which way it's going to go. Is that kind of where you're at? We're just playing both sides?
Yep, exactly. I think that's incredibly viable. Could definitely see Snell having a ton of strikeouts. I could see him walking 4 guys in 2 innings, getting an early hook, and then you'd have a long game against the bullpen. So definitely like the St. Louis side of it as well.
I just see Eric in chat saying Angels. Yeah, we haven't talked about the Angels at all. No Rendon in that lineup, but Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout are just going to be ignored. I mean, Trout in New York against Montgomery, not a guy I'm afraid of, but I do like I like some Trout in tournaments, but I don't think he's going to be very popular as far as ownership. Do have the Crunch Time Crew coming in. DerekCarty, TJ, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. Roth, I'm going to hit you with a question right away. It's going to throw you off, but
okay, I'm ready.
Yourself. First of all, congratulations on the Colorado getting rained out. I imagine you exhaled.
Yeah, well, Colorado is always stressful because everybody wants to play it, and also it's always after lock, so it's the stress continues for 2 extra hours. So yes, I was quite pleased with that early postponement.
Roth, imagine your nickname your name for a second is Patrick Wisdom, right? Would you prefer your nickname be the Brain or the Tooth?
The Brain, and it's not even close. The Tooth is the Tooth is terrible. It's funny, but no, the Brain, yes.
So Chop wants to call him the Tooth, and like I don't. Chop, defend yourself.
I mean, it's hilarious.
Well, again, Dean, you missed the point of nickname. You don't nickname yourself. All right, it's not about what you like.
Chopper.
That's just an avatar, a screen name, Dean. You don't. Major League Baseball ball players don't nickname themselves. All right, so it's not about
call them wisdom teeth because you want to take them out against righties.
Okay, we can do that, but I prefer Patty the Tooth. It has a ring to it, and and it is what it is, man. Like we got the flirter out there in Seattle, and if he can be called the flirter, this guy can be called Patty the Tooth.
Wait, who's the flirter?
Jesse Winker.
Oh, Jesus. These are terrible.
Exactly. Dean came up with that one, but we let him slide.
You just said it was great.
I let him have the flirter. He can't let me have Patty the Tooth.
You can have it. I don't think anybody else. He doesn't want it. He has no interest.
I don't care what he wants, Dean. That's not the point.
We will let you have it.
All right. We good then. We good.
Carty, do you have a thought on this? This is very important before we talk about the rest of the slate.
I mean, the Brain is better. I don't know. The Tooth is okay. It's I don't know. I think the Brain though is the way to go.
I'm like leaning more and more.
Go. You go, Roth. Sorry.
Okay. More and more, I'm liking the Tooth. Like it's kind of it's
not just
like
the Tooth. It's not just the Tooth. It's
the Tooth.
Patrick. So it's Patty the Tooth.
Patty the Tooth is growing on me at first.
See what I'm saying?
At first, I thought, no, you got to call him the Brain, but I'm kind of into Patty the Tooth now. Chop, I think I've got your back on this.
All right. Well, now we're cooking.
Speaking of things growing on your teeth, Chop's take on movie theater popcorn. Best take I've ever heard you have.
Nobody's anti-movie theater popcorn.
I feel like cheese is. I feel like cheese might be. But movie theater popcorn, my favorite snack that exists.
Well, is there anything chalkier than that? That's the chalkiest take you've ever given.
That it's number one.
You're the one who said you would
not just popcorn, specifically movie theater popcorn.
I'm saying
said you wouldn't leave your house to get it, Dean.
You context matters. He did not go to the movie theaters to see a movie. He went to the movie theaters to buy popcorn and then leave the movie theaters.
That's how good it is.
Yeah, I've done that before. That's fine.
Yeah, but that's loonies and toonies, man. That's cheaper. That doesn't cost as much in Canada, does it?
How much is it it's still a large popcorn's probably like $10.
Yeah, that's like $7 in American. It's a steal. All right.
Gas is expensive. Still worth it.
All right. Well, I can't believe that other people do. I wasn't aware this is something that people do, but it's fine. I'm not saying it's bad. That's not my take. But I'm going to step aside and get out of here and I guess I'm taking an L and not leading on a high note like George Costanza taught me to. Myself, Chop, Keith, thank you for watching the first part of the Crunch Time show. Now it's going to be the Fanduel sponsored Crunch Time with Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. Roth, take it over.
Appreciate it, Dino. Thank you, guys. This is it. The moment you've been waiting for. It is Crunch Time, sponsored by Fanduel. A couple cool things going on today. So let me run through those, of course, joined by a couple of the sharpest minds in the biz as well. First off, though, don't forget to reserve your entries in the Fanduel $150K Tuesday MLB Squeeze Contest. It's $30K to first. It's $4.44 to enter. And they've got something new going on here. If you roster a home run hitter in that contest or in tomorrow's marquee contest, you win a share of $25K, just like it's a cash bonus. And any one of your guys. That seems easy. Like, Carty, you're going to have one of your guys hit a home run tonight, right?
I mean, always.
There you go. Oh, it seems easy. So there you go. You get a share of a $25K cash bonus. That's awesome. Also, we're making the premium Discord free for today. So if you want to check out the RG Discord, please do so. You can get your questions in there, and I will bring them up to the experts, and they will answer them. All you got to do is go to rotogrinders.com/Discord, and you should check that out. We have a really good community in the Discord. I like our people. They're good people. I like these people as well. Two of the most wisdomy folks in the game here. We got one, Mr. DerekCarty, creator, inventor, CEO, and chief architect of the BatX Enterprises. What up, Carty?
Not much, doing pretty good. Bad X Enterprises chugging along.
That's what I like to hear. As always, the bat getting love, and all of the Slack channels that we have. People always posting bat winning the money. Seems like it's working.
Yeah, I mean, another day, another dollar, as they say.
That's how it goes. Carty might be the richest man in the world from the bat sales. I'm not sure. I think he may be a billionaire.
I was on board with everything said until another day, another dollar.
I liked it. We got TJ as well. TJ, our wonderful Canadian friend. TJ, how are you?
Doing pretty well. If Carty's Mr. Wisdom, I'm Mr. Tooth on today's slate, but I'm ready to talk because that's what we do with our teeth. Not really, but I was trying to go with it. I'm happy because Dean got us almost 100 likes. This is the most I've ever seen going into crunch time. I'm proud of him. I'm happy. We got over 400 people watching. So thanks to Fanduel. Thanks to all the watchers. We get this for free. Hit the like button. If we get 150 today, that's what we need for a Spidey Bomb.
Okay. 150, you get a Spidey Bomb. I had my home run call yesterday as G-Man Choi, and he absolutely mauled a ball. And some random outfielder who may or may not be Spider-Man, climbed to the very top of the wall and had the most ridiculous home run robbery ever. So I'm a little furious about that. It's my first call. To have it go that way is a little rough, TJ.
Anytime you get
to me, that says you're doing well because he hit the ball that hard.
Yeah, I mean, did the right thing. Do what we got to do. Okay, hey, let's talk about the what we're going to do weather-wise. We had Colorado. It got postponed. I imagine that sent everyone scrambling. Is that accurate? Were people playing Colorado as usual, Carty?
Yeah, I mean, we're in Coors Field, so yeah, we liked that game, but it makes our decision easier having it off the slate and not having to worry about it.
Good. And there are at least some great hitting weather spots that we can focus on, with that one out. So I think we're going to be all right in that department. A chance of a delay in Chicago. Do we want pitchers there, Carty?
Chicago.
Eric Lauer is a interesting risk-reward tournament option, but this doesn't change the fact that he's a risk-reward tournament option, and now even less people will play him.
Yeah, there's no cash options really for pitching in that game.
Great. Play ball in that. I do not expect we're going to have any issues in Chicago. Let me rephrase that. It is certainly possible we have a delay in Chicago. It's more likely that it would be late enough if it happens that it doesn't matter for pitchers anyways. And if it's tournaments, we want a little bit of a dice roll. We like the risk. So I have no issues playing a pitcher there in Chicago, and certainly bats are fine. And then last but not least, there is a chance for a delay in the New York games, both of them, Mets and Yankees. I think it's low enough that we just ignore it. We put it out of our mind and we pretend it doesn't matter. TJ, is there pitchers interested there in New York?
In both of the New York games, I don't think I'm planning on playing either of the pitchers. Nope.
Okay, great. Well, certainly you can play bats. I think even a delay is unlikely, and there's not going to be any issues worse than that. So we're good there. I did get a question. Are the winds going to be consistent all night in Wrigley? So let me look that up. In the meantime, Carty, will you kind of walk us through general outlook or just dive into pitchers?
Yeah, absolutely. For what it's worth, I have the wind consistent throughout the game, but shifting a little out towards right, I think.
Okay.
Pitchers. So I think there's three guys that the crowd is going to gravitate towards. We have Kevin Gausman, who is the top pitcher on the slate, will probably be the highest owned pitcher on the slate. He's in, I don't want to say it's a great spot. He's the most talented pitcher on the slate, but he's facing the Chicago White Sox, they're a good offense. It is a very watered down version of the Chicago offense tonight. It's real weird. We have Grandal leading off. Jake Berger's hitting cleanup, and it gets worse from there. So
I was going to say, is it a good offense?
I guess tonight it really isn't. Tonight, this is actually a really, really good spot. This is one of the weaker offenses on the slate. So, yeah, Gausman's a really good play. He's going to be owned. But in cash games, Gausman, especially on DraftKings, I think is a great play. Over on FanDuel, where Gausman is really expensive, he's 10.2K. I don't think you have to play him. I think you can definitely play Christian Javier instead. He's in a good matchup. He's in Oakland. It's a great ballpark. It's some of the best pitching weather of the night. Oakland is terrible. Oakland's like the worst offense in baseball. And there's even some strikeouts in the lineup. So Javier's great. And then the third guy, who it seems like the field is going to like, but not as much as the other two, is Julio Urias. And I like him a lot. The bat actually thinks on DraftKings, where you save 500 over Javier, he's the better play. I don't think he's going to be as high owned as Gausman or Javier. So I like him quite a bit in tournaments, and I like him for cash also. He hasn't been especially good this year in terms of his peripherals. Like his strikeouts are way down, even though his ERA has been great, which is a concern. And the bat is thinking he's a significantly worse strikeout pitcher legitimately now. But this is still a great matchup. He's facing the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're also one of the worst offenses in baseball. And so even though Urias is a worse pitcher right now, I think between the matchup and the little bit of a discount that you get on DraftKings, I like him quite a bit. So those are really your three cash guys, and it depends on, pricing between the sites. But yeah, then after that, you're kind of just finding ways to get different in GPPs.
Okay. Quick little update on somebody asked about the wins in Chicago. They're going to drop a little bit as we go through the night. I think they're going to start around 13. By the end of the night, they might be 9 to 10. But in general, same idea and good hitting weather there. TJ, you want to talk some pitchers?
Yeah, so I echo almost everything he said there. Gausman and Javier are my top two. I think FanDuel Javier is my guy. I would definitely try and get up to Javier in DK as well, and try and get that Gausman Javier combo in single entries and cash, that type of thing. In tournaments, I think the ones I'd want to get underweight on are Montas and Arias. Montas is in a good ballpark. They might be without Altuve and Tucker. So it could be a solid, like a better matchup than you'd think against Houston. But I just think there's some other guys out there that aren't picking up the same ownership that I'd rather go to in tournaments. Some of those guys, if I'm spending up, are Lucas Giolito or Eric Lauer. It's a great hitting weather in Chicago, but Eric Lauer is still a phenomenal strikeout pitcher, and Chicago strikes out a ton. So I'm going to have a few Lauer shares, and I'm going to have some Chicago stacks as well to kind of counteract it. If I want to go cheap today on FanDuel, if I'm going cheaper than Lauer, the chalkier option is going to be Blake Snell on FanDuel, where he's only 7K. I get it. He has strikeout upside, but I'm actually more interested in George Kirby. That's the salary saving option I'd rather go to. Pitcher for Seattle facing Baltimore. Good strikeout guy. He's a little reverse splitsy, which is a little worrisome, but who knows if that's at all true, because he's young and the sample size on him is really small anyway. So I actually like going to Kirby instead of Snell in tournaments. But I think you can keep a pretty tight pool today. Like Javier and Gausman is the chalk that I want to eat. And then Lauer, Giolito, Kirby, those are my tournament pivots that I'm most interested in.
Okay. Let's talk hitters. I do have to make a little correction here. I'm talking with Devin. I said, all you got to do is roster a guy that hits a home run. That's not quite accurate for that 25K bonus from FanDuel. You got to roster someone who hits a home run, anybody who hits a home run today, and then also tomorrow. Doesn't have to be the same dude. So you just have to have a home run in your lineup today and tomorrow. That still seems very easy, right? Like TJ, you can do that. You can have a guy hit a home run tonight and then any other dude hit a home run tomorrow.
It does feel very easy, but I guess it's less of a matter of rostering the home runs and more of a matter of entering the same contest in back-to-back days and making sure you do that.
Bingo. I think that's the hard part of it. They should do this with other things. Like if a guy gets the golden sombrero, like you get a share of the 25K. They should mix it up. We'll see what happens, but I like this. Okay, let's talk about some of the bats. Let's talk about some of the stacks specifically. TJ, Coors is now stoinked from us. So where is that ownership going?
So I was thankful that happened, actually, because I wrote up my Agents of Fantasy article today, and I name dropped you quite a bit today, Roth. I said, as of right now, I'm not writing up any of these players. The write-up doesn't look good, and so we're going to see what Roth says on crunch time. Then we didn't even have to wait that long because it got delayed before, or it got postponed before it happened.
Nice.
But I was happy with that because I didn't have to do any adjustments, and it seems to me we're going to have the most ownership today, especially on Fanduel, where I'm peeking at right now, is the Dodgers, Milwaukee, and the Mets. And I think all three of them are very good plays. But I think my top stack of the day is Atlanta, and they're getting ownership, but not as much ownership as those other three teams are today. And that makes me just like them even better than I did before. So Atlanta is going to be my number one, but all the chalky stacks I'm kind of okay with. I just think you have to find other ways within your lineups to get different. Some of the other teams that aren't picking up as much ownerships that I really like are the Red Sox. I think we have really good weather in New York for hitting, so I think the Angels are interesting. The Yankees are too, but they're picking up some more ownership. And then it shouldn't be off the board because of the win game, but it is because they're facing Eric Lauer, and he's a very good pitcher, and the Brewers have a good bullpen. But I'm interested in playing Chicago too because it's great weather. The field's not going there, and when Eric Lauer gets hit by righties, the ball does not stay on the ground. Right-handed batters, he doesn't have the same ground ball skills against them that he does the lefties. So it's going to be tough for them to get a hit, but if they do, there's a good chance it might go out of the park.
All right, TJ, you said Atlanta's your favorite stack. Did you mean based on ownership, or do you mean straight up, if ownership wasn't a thing, they're your favorite, and plus they're coming in lower owned?
Both.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Interesting.
Favorite straight up and favorite ownership adjusted.
Great. Okay. Carty, you want to talk some stacks? I saw you nodding in agreement with Atlanta, which makes me think if I've learned anything, it's that when both people agree on the one play, a lot of people like that play.
Yeah, but the reason I like Atlanta, well, part of the reason is because it seems like they're going to be lower owned than they should be, like TJ said. The Dodgers are the top stack tonight, according to the bat, and they're the Dodgers, and they're really good. But the Braves are like right there. They're facing a really weak pitcher in Humberto Castellanos, and the roof is open in Arizona. So this is, this is a really good spot. So I like them quite a bit. And then the Yankees. TJ seemed to think they're going to get ownership. I know RG's projections has them projected really low owned right now, which is strange. I would expect them to get more, but this is a really good spot. Like Syndergaard is not that good anymore, and he's super easy to steal against. So there's lots of like hidden upside for these guys. So I like the Yankees a lot.
Yeah, looking at it individually, I think Judge's individual ownership is clouding what I thought the stack ownership was going to be, because I think he's really going to be the only guy picking up anything today.
Okay, excellent. Let's go position by position here. And Carty, you can lead us off a little catcher talk.
Oh boy, how did I get so lucky? Wilson Contreras is the top option tonight. And if you have the money to get up there, which I think you should probably try to prioritize him, especially there's no Coors, like you're going to have a little bit of money to spend. He's going to have a platoon advantage against Eric Lauer, and he's in Wrigley with this wind situation that we have going on right now.
I mean, let's tone down the Wrigley wind talk. TJ called it a wind game. You're calling it a situation. It's like 12 mile per hour winds. It's not anything to write home about.
Wrigley is like, if it was like 40 miles an hour anywhere else?
Wrigley does, it matters. You're right.
Yeah.
And that as well, like
Wrigley is a big win game.
Yeah.
And it's not just the wind too. It's that if we peek at Weather Edge in a large sample size, we have a 59.7% increase in home runs in 110 games. And that's because it's 82 degrees as well there. So not only do we got that 13K win, but we got heat. And that's a pretty damn good sample size on Weather Edge for that 60% increase in homers.
You're not wrong. Pretty amazing that there's a tool out there that someone concocted in their brain that actually shows you exactly what the weather has done historically. Whoever came up with that, Genius. Let me tell you
Genius.
that. Genius.
18 likes away from the Spidey bomb. Hit the like, not just for that, but for the genius that created Weather Edge.
Yeah, pretty good stuff there. Okay, Carty, anything else at catcher? I feel like I kind of cut you off.
I mean, he's the cash guy, but you can play other guys in GPPs. Like I think even Yasmani Grandal against Gaussman, as bad as this White Sox lineup is, just as like a one-off, he's projected for sub 1% ownership. He's one of the best hitting catchers in baseball. He's reasonably priced. You get leverage. I think he's a great GPP play. And then if you need to punt it, there's always a bunch of guys. You can play Alfaro or Jeffers or whoever.
Yeah. Okay. TJ, catcher.
Yeah, nothing to add other than Contreras is my top guy as well. And the ownership is kind of being split today between Contreras, Will Smith, and Varsho. And all three of them are good plays. I like Contreras the best of the bunch. So nothing really to add, but same boat for me there at catcher.
And you're okay spending up at catcher, even like as compared to spending up in the outfield or some of these other spots?
Yeah, just because there are some catchers in very, very good spots today, and the punt options are kind of gross. Like the catcher thing, save salary there. In principle, I agree with, but so we talked about Eric Lauer today and how he's a phenomenal strikeout guy, but when he does get hit, he gets hit up in the air. And today is a very good day for that. Wilson Contreras is one of the lower strikeout guys in the Cubs lineup. It makes a lot of sense. Plus the Dodgers are in a great spot. Will Smith is batting cleanups. It makes a lot of sense. Varsho is a catcher, but he's not really a catcher. And he's batting leadoff. So it makes a lot of sense. But the guys up top are just in a much better spot today than the guys at the bottom.
Gotcha. All right. Take us to first, TJ.
Yeah, so top option for me today on FanDuel is our Spidey Bum, who did not let us down from yesterday, Pete Alonso.
Mm-hmm.
You got Freddie Freeman at the same price, but if I'm choosing between the two of them, I like Alonso just a little bit better. You also have Edwin Rios at the first base position on FanDuel. I think you can play him there. I think I like him a little bit better at third, but he's viable at first base as well. Joey Votto is still way too cheap on FanDuel. If you need to save salary in cash, I think that's probably where people will go. Keston here is a good option as well, but I'd rather play him at second base on FanDuel. Maybe hit Carty first for all of the positions, because I keep talking about cash because I'm used to doing it. And he's going to give us the best options for that anyways. So hit him first for all of them, and then I'll go second and talk about tournaments.
I can do that. That works. And to be clear, when you said Pete Alonso, Spidey Bomb hero, you're referring to last night. He is not your Spidey Bomb. You're not going back to the well.
Correct.
Okay.
I would like to. He's a great play, but I think he might be a bit too popular for a Spidey Bomb today.
I see. Okay. Carty, let's get your take at first, and then you can start leading off all these positions.
Yeah, I like Alonso, but for what it's worth, I do think the Mets are going to be a bit overowned tonight. Like, I don't think he's as good as a few of these other guys. Vlad Guerrero, even though he's against Giolito, is just so good, and he's way too cheap on DraftKings in particular, but also on FanDuel. I think he's a really good play. So I like Vlad a lot. On FanDuel, I think you can think about playing Contreras. Even though he's a catcher, I think you can play him in this spot for sure if you wanted to. And then Matt Olson is the other high-end guy that I really like that is too cheap for who he is. Like, you also have Ohtani and Freeman. Like, they're good, but they're both close to 6K on DraftKings, and Vlad and Olson are mid-4s. We mentioned liking the Braves tonight quite a bit, and Olson's probably the best hitter in the lineup, or one of the best hitters in the lineup. So I think he's a really strong value on both sites, and that's where I would be looking. Anthony Rizzo is the other guy that I like for tournaments. He's too expensive for cash, but I mentioned really liking Yankees tonight. I think they're going to come in way too low owned, and Rizzo is a good part of that offense.
Great. Carty, second base, please.
Yeah, second base. So Gleyber Torres is hitting cleanup for the Yankees tonight, and he's another guy who's going to come in really low owned, but I like him a lot for tournaments. I think he's a borderline cash option, especially on FanDuel, where he's only 3K. I'd actually say he's close to a cash lock. DraftKings, you can maybe think about punting here because it is kind of a weak position. But you have Ozzie Albies for your Brave stacks for sure, who's going to come in too low owned. And then I think you can punt it with Christopher Morel, who's been the leadoff hitter for the Cubs the last week or so against Lauer in this, as I believe Roth termed it, wind situation, Wrigley wind game. So I like that quite a bit. And I think Rougned Odor is semi-viable as well.
Okay. TJ?
Yeah, on DK, I have nothing to add other than I'm interested in Trevor Story as a contrarian pay-up option, either as part of a Boston stack or as a one-off on DK. On FanDuel, this is really my least favorite position on the slate. Like, it's pretty darn gross. And so that's the reason why I find myself going to a lot of Keston Hiura today. He's first and second base eligible. I like him at second. I don't mind getting myself some Gavin Lux and Dodgers stacks. Dodgers are going to be really highly owned today, but you stack the back half of that lineup and not so much. So I do like some Gavin Lux. And the odd time I even found myself just sticking Matt Duffy there on FanDuel where he's minimum price when I want to get an Angel stack in there as well. So I like Trevor Story up top. I agree with the Gleyber Torres call, but I really like Keston Hiura and Gavin Lux, especially on FanDuel.
All right, Carty, take us to third.
Yeah, so even though I think the Mets are going to be over-owned tonight, I think JD Davis is the guy that I have the most interest in from this team. He's hitting fifth. He's very reasonably priced. He sets up well in this matchup. So if I was going to play a Met in cash, I think it would be JD Davis. He's 2.6 on DraftKings. He's 2.3 on FanDuel. But there are plenty of other good plays here. This isn't a spot where there's like one right guy. There's probably like 5 guys on each site that you can play in cash. On FanDuel, Rafael Devers will probably be the highest owned, and I think he's certainly fine. You can play him. I like Justin Turner a lot. Even though the Dodgers are going to be popular, he projects for low ownership, so I have no problem playing him in cash or in your Dodgers stacks. I mentioned liking Yankees guys. Matt Carpenter and Miguel Andujar are both on FanDuel in particular, I think really good plays. Over on DraftKings, besides JD Davis, I think Matt Carpenter also here is going to be too low owned. I mean, obviously he's old. We don't know what he still has left in the tank, but he's in the Yankees lineup now. He's really cheap. He profiles well for this park. He's hitting 6th. So I like Carpenter. And then we have Jose Miranda, who's like always really, really cheap on DraftKings. He's not 2K anymore, but he's 2.7. It's a pretty good spot for the Twins. So, this I think is a position where if you're not going all the way up to Devers, which I think only makes sense on FanDuel, I think you find a way to save some money.
Okay. Somewhere in Alabama right now, Cheese is smiling at your Matt Carpenter take. He's got a pint of ice cream. He's like, yes, that is the right move. Yes, Carty. TJ, I got to put you in lightning round. Oh, and look at that. Just as I said it, Cheese is in the Discord just as I said that. TJ, I got to lightning round this. Like, let's try to speed it up a little bit and run through third for me.
Yeah, so DK, nothing to add. JD Davis is cheap as hell. You play JD Davis. On FanDuel, though, I think there's an interesting pivot. If you still want to play a Met for $100 more, you can play Eduardo Escobar. Not as good of a spot in the lineup, but he's going to get a lot less ownership because of it. 2 other guys down cheap that I like playing a lot that aren't going to pick up as much ownership as I think they should. Mike Brosseau for Milwaukee and Edwin Rios for the Dodgers. And then up top, I absolutely love in tournaments Austin Riley as well as Rafael Devers.
Okay, Carty shortstop.
Actually.
Okay, Carty shortstop.
Trey Turner is going to be popular because the Dodgers are really good and Trey Turner is really good, especially on FanDuel. I think he's great. On DraftKings, though, we have Luis Urias at a reasonable price point in this Wrigley win game. And we have Bo Bichette for 4,400, which I know he's struggling, but I know the matchup's not great, but that's too cheap for who he is. And then over on FanDuel, Dylan Moore is a good way to save some money here. He's the minimum. He's 2K and he's a decent hitter.
Okay, TJ, short.
Yeah, I got a big 3 up top for me at short that I really like, especially on FanDuel. It's Francisco Lindor, it's Luis Urias, and it's Dansby Swanson. Those are the 3 that I'm going to a lot in tournaments, and I love all 3 of them.
Okay, Carty, let's go through the outfield.
Yeah, so Byron Buxton is the top guy. He's one of the best hitters in baseball. He hits leadoff. He's against lefty Joey Wentz tonight. So Buxton's great in the same lineup. Kyle Garlick is a good way to save money. He's 2,200 on DraftKings, unnecessary on Fanduel, but a really good play there. The Brewers outfielders are really good, especially Andrew McCutchen on both sites. Again, great spot, Wrigley Wind. Tyrone Taylor is a good cheap way to get some exposure there in DraftKings. Juan Soto is a really good play on both sites. All the Yankees outfielders, especially in GPPs, especially Judge and Gallo. And on FanDuel, Ronald Acuna is really well priced, a really good play. So yeah, there you go.
Perfect. TJ, your favorite outfielders?
Same boat. I think a couple other salary savers that I like. You got Mark Canha, nice and cheap. He's leading off today for the Mets. Jesse Winker, I think, is an interesting cheapie option today.
Oh,
even
the flirter.
As a one-off.
The flirter.
Yeah, the flirter, exactly. And then over on FanDuel, I agree with most of the same plays there. Ronald Acuna is way too cheap. Something I like as well in tournaments is like Mookie Betts. He's priced up ahead of everyone else. And because of that, he doesn't pick up as much ownership as I think he should. Aaron Judge, Mike Trout, JD Martinez, Shohei Ohtani, Ronald Acuna, Juan Soto, all phenomenal plays. Mookie Betts is more expensive than all of them. And so because of that, I don't think the field's going to get there today, especially since most of us are paying up at pitching. So Mookie Betts is another option I like in tournaments. I believe we've hit we're 5 likes away. Hit the like button. I trust that we are going to get it there. The Spidey bomb today is a interesting one. It's nice and low owned. Spidey's got a lot of red on him here. And he's feeling a team that's in a red jersey today. And, the St. Louis Cardinals are in an interesting spot today. It's another one of these high upside teams in tournaments that isn't going to be picking up much ownership at all. And so because of that, I'm very interested Spidey is very interested in Paul Goldschmidt, who he thinks is going to be hitting a home run today at virtually no ownership.
Okay, excellent stuff. Guys, we've got about 3 or 4 minutes until lock. I think I know the answer to this, but you're playing one stack to win a tournament. Is it Braves for both of you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay, great. Jay Sam says, Carty, can you go over the possible pinch hit risk for the Mets?
Yeah, let me pull that up real quick. Hold on.
In the meantime, TJ,
question.
DK Cash, Trey Turner and Canha, or Urias and Soto?
Urias and Soto.
TJ, FanDuel GPP, you want a Seattle stack or a Milwaukee stack?
Milwaukee.
All right, so Mets pinch hit risk. The only 2 guys you have to worry about, Tomas Nido, catcher, 25%. Luis Guillorme, back to batting 8th tonight, and he's 17%. But again, I do think the Mets, even without a lot of pinch hit risk, are kind of overrated tonight.
Yeah, okay. FanDuel single entry Carty, Odor, ya boy, or Rengifo?
I mean, it's Odor. It's stupid, and we hate Odor, but he has power, and Rengifo really doesn't. So just go for the home run.
Do we hate Odor, or do you kind of love him?
It's a very love-hate relationship. Yeah. Mostly hate because the bat loves him.
Yeah, right. All right. TJ aside, FanDuel Cash, Lindor and Sterling Marte, or Trey Turner and Soto. Side note: I've already got Alonso and JD in there.
Second one. If you don't mind, though, it might be better to target Carty with cash ones in tournaments.
Yeah. All right, FanDuel Cash. Carty, this one's coming to you here. Trey Turner and Duffy, or Urias and Simeon, FanDuel Cash?
Trey Turner, Duffy, or Urias and Simeon?
Yep.
I guess it's Trey Turner, Duffy, but I don't love Duffy.
Okay. Either of you can handle this if you want. Fixes, what are your tips on approaching highly touted rookies who are really cheap with low projected ownership? Seems like the answer is play them, but maybe one of you has a different thought.
In a vacuum, that makes sense, but it also depends on who. You go, Carty, sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm kind of with you. In theory, it makes sense for tournaments in cash. Unless they project well, forget it, because rookies bust way more often than people realize they do.
I know you've got you've had entire threads on.
Yeah.
You fought with the entire Twitter world
Literally
about rookie projections. Yeah, every year. All right. Hey, we're coming up on the lock here. See if we've got a couple more questions. TJ, DKGVP in a large field tournament, what works best between a full stack and one-offs or a 5-3? What do you prefer?
5-3.
You just want to get as much correlation as you can?
Yeah, exactly. So it's 5-3 for me unless there is a player at a position significantly better than the guy I have in the stack.
Gotcha. Carolina guy, favorite outfielder, TJ, 3K or under Fanduel GPP?
3K or under Fanduel GPP. Outfielder, Jesse Winker.
Okay, the flirter. Does it make sense,
TJ?
Tyrone Taylor. Okay. Does it make sense, TJ, that if you're playing one of those like massive tournaments with an incredible, $5 to enter and there's hundreds of thousands of people in it or whatever the biggest baseball tournament is, that maybe then you would want to go more one-offs, just trying to hope that you kind of win the lottery?
It's on a slate this big, I actually view it as the opposite. I would rather go full stack, but of teams people aren't playing. I'd rather just go totally off the board and just try and hope one of those teams hits 10 runs, something like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
And my favorite team to do that with that I don't think anybody's really getting to today is St. Louis.
Okay. Right. I like it. Goldie with the bomb. DY says, Carty, DKGPP, when creating a 5-3 stack, do you prioritize the 5-man or the 3-man stack? Feels like you got to prioritize them both. I don't know. You're not.
Yeah. I mean, that's really the answer. Like you're building a whole lineup. You're not just building a lineup of 5 guys and fitting whatever you can with them. Like you're building a plus EV lineup that includes every player. So, I mean, the easy answer is like the 5-man is more important because there's more of them, but like you want to build a good lineup no matter what you're doing.
Yeah. All right. That makes sense. We'll give it a couple more seconds here, see if anybody's got a question. And if not, we will sign out here shortly. Who's seen Top Gun? TJ, you saw Top Gun. You wrote a review on it.
I haven't actually seen it yet. That was one of my writers who wrote the review.
You sent me an article from Not You?
It's my website.
Well, that doesn't count. That doesn't count. That's like if I endorsed a weather forecast from someone else, but didn't tell you that it was from someone else.
No, it's not like that at all. It's like you are using you're looking at weather models to give us the weather, right? I run a website and I was giving you the content that one of my writers put up.
That's shade. That's a shady practice. That's shady business practice. Sliding in your buddy's DMs with the review of Top Gun that wasn't even yours.
The message I sent you was a tweet that said in it, at Isaac Joel's new article on Top Gun. It was literally in the title. There was no devious, there was no nothing slimy happening here.
Dubious moves there. I don't know. Let's see. What are your thoughts on a Texas stack? Either of you have any interest in a Texas stack? Yeehaw.
I think there's better options tonight. They're fine.
TJ?
I agree. It's kind of same as Cheese was saying yesterday. Like this game doesn't need to be on the slate. That's kind of how I feel about Tampa and Texas again today.
Okay. Aside says, Carty, what is the most well, maybe this will be our final question. What is the most triggering name of all time for you? Rugned Odor, who I feel like that's a pretty high one there, or Ryan Rayburn. I don't even know who the hell that is.
Ryan Rayburn was this guy that everybody thought was really good against lefties for like a couple years. And then he went over and played in like Korea or whatever, because major league teams aren't dumb and they realized that's not a thing and nobody wanted to sign him. And so, yeah, it's Odor for sure.
MB says, hey, look at these Yankees, sub 15% total ownership in my single entry GPP. Rocket ship emoji. That sounds pretty good. Good hitting team and good hitting weather is nice to have. Final question of the day here, TJ. This is yours. DK single entry, Jed Lowry to play against Chalky Javier and Taylor, or Lux and Sheets.
I don't love either of the options, but the second one.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Guys, with that, we've answered all the questions. I think it's time to get on out of here. So for Carty, for TJ, and for our wonderful production crew working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love it. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.